Spencer Pratt is surging in the Los Angeles mayoral election polls. Things are heating up in Los Angeles. You know, many have speculated that America can't truly be great unless Los Angeles is great. And it's true. It is the Golden State, probably the most beautiful landscape in the entire world. So it is true. If America's going to be firing on all cylinders, we need California back. So very encouraging to see Spencer Pratt, again, surging in the polls. We're going to be getting into all of that. And thankfully, I've got two Californians in to discuss all this and so much more. Also, violent crime has been dropping rapidly all across the country. The FBI has put new data out indicating that things have never been safer in the United States, but many have pointed out anecdotally it doesn't feel so safe. So we're going to get into that. We have one big story I think everyone probably knows, so there's no sense reporting it because everyone can feel it, is food prices are soaring. I don't know if you've been to the grocery store anytime soon, but you need to take like a second mortgage out to get a T-bone. I mean, it's unbelievable what's going on in this country. We might invade Cuba. That'll be interesting. We'll talk about that. The fact that invading Cuba is the fourth story in the stack kind of tells you how crazy things are getting in this country. And then finally, I would argue the most important story, probably of the last month, is Hooters is going family friendly. There's a lot going on there. We're going to get into all of that. But before we do, we have a quick shout out from our sponsor. And I think Carter is going to be one holding down the ad read here.
Yeah, I'm going to hold it down real quick. We got to give these guys a shout out if I can find...
We'll edit this in post.
It was there last night.
Here, I'll do it.
Can you pull up that?
It's this.
Yeah.
Just note to editor, we're editing this in post.
All right. Anyway, we do have a quick shout out for you today, and we have to read it from our sponsors, and that is Enhanced Games. There's a new global sports competition happening in Las Vegas on May 24th, which is this Sunday, and it's unlike anything you've seen before. Go to enhanced.com/games. The Enhanced Games brings together elite athletes from around the world competing at the absolute limits of human performance. No hiding, no pretending, complete transparency about what athletes are putting in their bodies, and you can watch the entire event live on Rumble. The results speak for themselves. Elite weightlifters typically improve strength around 1.5%. Annually, yet Enhanced's weightlifting cohort saw strength increases ranging from 8 to 33% in a single camp cycle, which is a 2 to 7 times multiplier on expected gains. These are not generic supplements. They are performance protocols matched to biology, data, and refined over time. Every ingredient published, every dose explained. Go to Enhanced Games. Go to enhanced.com/games and make sure to watch this event this weekend live on Rumble.
And shout out to Enhanced Games. We're very pleased to have them on board. I am your host, Tate Brown, here holding it down on this beautiful Friday. Our valiant leader, Tim, is still out, but he will be back with us after the Memorial Day break. I also want to give a quick shout out to Mo Monuments. At Mo Monuments, as you can see here, he has fitted me out with this beautiful George Washington statue. He's building much larger statues all across the country. Keep a lookout on your local roundabout. There might be a big old statue going up of some sort of American hero. So shout out to Mo Monuments. Go follow him at Mo Monuments. That's a lot to get out, 2 ads back to back. So with that, we are joined by some fantastic guests today. First off, we got Josh Rayner.
What's up, man?
Dude, what's going on? Who are you and what do you do?
Just hanging out, pretty much.
Yeah, let's go.
LA native, born and raised. Always been into the fitness thing, and that was kind of my origins of posting. And then, of course, COVID brought that weirdly into the political sphere, and you can't avoid talking about it. So now we're just trying to figure out how to save the country, save California, save Los Angeles.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the intersection between Maha and hard politics became very evident that there's direct crossover there.
Well, that was the weird thing, seeing this all this blow up on the internet. During the COVID time, when this was just like my life for a decade plus.
Yeah.
I'd been someone who just started working out when I was young with my dad, and then with sports and training, and always gotten like weird diet stuff. And I was, drinking raw milk in college. I got into the paleo thing and all that. And I was, of course, a little hesitant about certain pharmaceutical interventions. And then all of a sudden it became one of those things where it's like my lifestyle became a branded thing that all of a sudden everyone was talking about.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird, because then you kind of get the hipster hey man, this is my thing, but also I'm glad it's spreading. Yeah. You just kind of don't know where it goes once it leaves kind of the people who sort of actually created it or like we're kind of born and bred in it, you know.
Well, it's what they call in the industry upstream. You're very upstream from the discourse. We got the
place
great
to be.
Rebeka Zeljko joining us today.
Yes, hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, who are you and what do you do?
I am the national correspondent for the Daily Caller, but I'm also a California native. So I'm from Northern California, though, so there might be some rivalry here today.
We're gonna fight.
Yeah, we'll try to break up any brawl. That's probably inevitable. We have the great Chris Carr joining us.
Yes, thank you. I am a writer, journalist, editor, and former Californian who joined the mass exodus during COVID.
Oh man, let's see here. We got two different camps here. I would say the stay in and the get out. So we got
right.
Olivia Dasovic hanging out.
Yeah, hey guys, I'm Olivia. I run the Timcast Discord server here and memberships, generally speaking. I help build the community here. Thank
And
you.
we already gave away the game. We got Carter on the helm.
Yeah, we gave it away. Here to represent and push some buttons and mix some audio. So let's make a pretty sick show for everyone tonight. Thanks for all of you coming.
I love it. Well, let's jump straight into the news here. This is from News Nation. Spencer Pratt shakes up LA mayor's race with hard stance on homelessness. I mean, if anybody knows anything about Spencer Pratt, you've probably seen him ranting about the homeless, and that is long overdue. The fact that this has not been addressed by now is a full-blown crisis. I'll just read here from News Nation. Spencer Pratt, best known for starring as a reality TV villain in MTV's The Hills 20 years ago, is an unlikely but promising candidate in the Los Angeles mayoral race. The 42-year-old has never held public office and has no political organization, making his long-shot candidacy even longer. He's a registered Republican in Los Angeles, where no Republican has been elected mayor since Pratt was 10 years old. All of that makes it even more remarkable that Pratt is holding his own against the established opponents. Polls show him on the heels of incumbent Mayor Karen Bass, trailing by just 8 percentage points in an Emerson College poll, and ahead of the left-leaning third candidate, Nithya Raman. Now, of course, Nithya Raman was leading in the polls for quite a long time. People were speculating she might be the West Coast Zoran. Well, Spencer Pratt had something to say about that. And Spencer Pratt has been stitching together one of the most impressive campaigns I think we've all seen in quite a long time. A lot of people say, there's kind of shades of Donald Trump here, not so much on policy, but more so with the fact that he's just kind of relatable in a really strange way. We're not used to relating to politicians in this country, but there's just something about Spencer Pratt. I mean, he's putting up pictures like this. He had a rally the other day in South Central Los Angeles. This is a place where it'd be unthinkable that a Republican could ever penetrate in any meaningful way. And if you go and watch the photos and videos from the event, everyone was loving him. I mean, it's really unbelievable stuff. Obviously, in the polls, as the article noted, there's many polls coming out over the last few weeks that indicate he's neck to neck with Karen Bass. This poll is obviously, factoring in all the candidates because first in Los Angeles, they'll have a jungle primary. So everyone runs in the first primary, and then the top two candidates advance to a runoff election. And right now, it looks like Spencer Pratt's going to head into a runoff election with Karen Bass with quite a lot of undecided voters. And those are probably Spencer Pratt's to lose. Because again, I think everyone in Los Angeles at this point either loves or hates Karen Bass. We had this article coming out, a few different outlets picked up on this. Trump is supporting Spencer Pratt in the LA mayor's race, but it may be a poison pill. Some have pointed out that part of the reason Spencer Pratt seems to be doing so well in this race is because his entire campaign is actually quite detached from national storylines. I mean, this is a guy where every single word that comes out of his mouth is about Los Angeles, and that's why it's such a breath of fresh air. Many have feared that if Trump gets too involved here, it might spook LA voters when it comes time to cast a vote for Spencer Pratt. I think we should just get right into the meat and potatoes here. I got to ask the two California natives, maybe Josh can really speak to this being a Los Angeles County native. Do you think Spencer Pratt has a chance?
Is a very, very real chance. And that's the thing that we kind of have to get away from, and people on the right just dooming all the time. Like, we're never going to win. This is owned by this and that. Like, he's clearly going to make it through the primary, and he has a very real chance of winning outright now, especially because of all the votes that all the other Democrat or left-leaning candidates are pulling from Bass. Mm-hmm. So you're kind of getting everyone who's against what's going on and been going on is going to lean more towards Spencer Pratt, unless they're like hardcore leftists who would be going for like outright communist type thing. But it's very legitimate, and that's why and whenever people are blackpilling, especially online, it's like we need to motivate everyone to vote who even has a slight inkling of, because every single one of those votes matters.
So, sorry, I have a question quick. I think there's this perception of LA. I've never lived in California. I've never been to LA. Is it as lefty, a lot of people there, are they as lefty and crazy as people make them out to be, or are there a lot?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. And that's the thing about it, because everyone assumes California, Los Angeles, it's the most left-leaning place basically in the whole country.
Yeah.
but Los Angeles County has more Republicans than any other county in the entire country.
Huh. Is that just population?
Population.
Yeah.
California has more Republicans than any other state, right? So what you're talking about is, yes, a blue-dominated state and city, but with tons of unrepresented Republicans or right-wingers. And not only that, but our liberals and Republicans are not like the rest of the country. You know, it's like our Republicans aren't like Bible Belt Republicans, and our liberals like aren't like Portland liberals.
Yeah.
Right. Everyone is kind of more towards the center. And it's funny, like you wouldn't think this at first, but the kind of vanity that people have from being in Los Angeles grounds them in reality, because the actual, like it's your appearance is tied to actually like what you do, as opposed to a stated belief or principle. So like you can virtue signal all you want. And of course they do. We've all seen the Oscars where they say this and that, but at the end of the day, like your meal ticket in Los Angeles is like your looks. And you can only go so far with the insane stuff before you just start to look like a freak.
Yeah.
And so weirdly enough, the people who live in La La Land are grounded, oddly enough, in reality somehow.
I mean, that makes sense because, I mean, you know, it's always been my analysis that the Northern California and Southern California liberals are quite different, where it seems like the ones in Northern California are a bit more prone to activism, these sorts of things, where it seems more cultural in Southern California. I mean, can you attest to this at all?
Yeah, fact check, true. I would also say that like the article I thought it was really interesting that they had the line saying that his lack of political experience was going to be a disadvantage to him, where like we're now, at least that might have been the case traditionally, but like we're kind of in the age where, yeah, like not coming from that traditional, like, you know, career politician background is actually a positive thing. Like populist politics is definitely on the rise. They likened that one candidate to Zoran Mamdani, but if anything, Pratt has more of that sort of Mamdani strategy because he is only talking about Los Angeles. I think he's made a smart decision to not necessarily tether himself to like the national MAGA brand of politics, because at the end of the day, he's trying to win in Los Angeles. And so I think as long as he kind of keeps that distance, also him being, you know, a reality TV star, that kind of makes him qualified in a unique way to run such a unique city where like that is such a huge part of the industry. And I feel like because he's a Republican, but also because he has this background in reality TV, it kind of gives people in the industry or who pay attention to that industry permission to vote for a Republican because he's like from their world, which is, I think, makes it a really interesting race to follow.
A lot of celebrities are kind of like breaking from the traditional like lefty slant with this a lot too.
Yeah.
I saw something where he was like, I guess like Leonardo DiCaprio and like Jamie Foxx were like talking to him about like things that they would want to see done.
Yeah.
Which means that they either think he can win or secretly voting for him. And I think we're also going to see a lot of people who are hesitant to state their support for him until like you kind of get that threshold breaking point where then they feel safe to do that. Yeah. And so he's very, very smart with sort of like, yeah, I'm a registered Republican, but like I'm not running as a Republican, you know? And because you don't actually, it's not a partisan race in the first place. And, you know, he's like mag, whatever. It's like, it's just not my problem. I'm focused on LA.
He's like super auriful too. Like, I think that again, just to talk about like the fact that he has so much experience on TV, that translates super well in politics. Like his TV ads are so effective. They're really entertaining and memorable. Whereas like pretty much any other like chud that runs for office is like doing the most scripted, you know, TV ad. And it's just like voters for the most part can see right through it and it just doesn't sit right with them. But when you see Spencer Pratt being like, yep, they burned my house down too.
Yeah, literally.
Super effective.
Yeah, Republicans have a huge aura problem. It's been a huge, and it's like legit.
Major
like
aura deficit.
Yeah, real. Right. And it's actually like a legit thing in politics. And so Spencer Pratt, this is why people say he reminds them of Trump. I'm like, I don't think he reminds people of Trump in any way, except for the fact that he actually has like a bit of like gravitas. Like he
also,
actually.
Like, no filter, I think.
Yeah, you feel like when he was on that debate stage that you were in on the joke with him. Like he sees how crazy this all is, and then you and the audience are like, yeah, this is crazy. And then he breaks the fourth wall.
So that's like the screen presence thing that him and Trump have.
Yeah.
And also, like what you're saying, familiarity with being on camera. Because, you know, people think of Trump as, you know, they talk about him being a billionaire businessman, but it's like, also like, remember The Apprentice, like his reality show guy. And so, Trump always talks about like central casting, like he understands like perception of things. And so he's like, Trump's aware of where the camera is.
Yeah.
And even if it's not like super conscious, Spencer spent how much of his time, of his life on camera.
Right.
And eventually you just become used to it. You understand kind of how to present yourself in such a way. And it doesn't mean that it's fake. It's actually, in a sense, the most real thing ever, because he's cutting through the lens and going actually right to the person. Because when like you're saying, when the traditional Republicans do their ads, it's like, I'm Mr. Blah blah blah, and it's like cool, man.
He's got like a
snooze
shotgun
fest,
slung over his shoulder.
It's
He's got a
just like,
golden retriever.
Yeah, everyone's totally checked out. This feels like kind of fake and really performative. And Spencer Pratt is just like, dude, they burned my fucking house down.
Yeah, literally.
Like, all this stuff you want to argue about politics, it's like, we're not even talking about all this like weird and like the weird granular crazy like really really like policy type stuff outside of basic reality, crime, homeless, burning down. Can we just like address the actual just tangible everything to be fixed and function to have a normal society before we ever have any of these other conversations?
Do you think that turns people off? Like breaking that, right? So what we've seen is like, hi, I'm so-and-so running for office in your district, and he's not doing that. Do you think that turns people off because it's almost like they don't, it's like a...
Certainly not in LA.
Overdrive.
Not in LA.
Okay,
and
sure.
I think part of the
It's
secret
really
sauce here, too,
interesting
is like
to me that you said, was it Leonardo DiCaprio is like asking him questions, like he's famously not somebody who I would assume would vote for Spencer Pratt because he's an LA guy.
Yeah, and there's two things going on here. Is like, one, when you're running in a city, the average population is going to be a lot lower actually than if you're running in a primary and a random district, because again, usually those are going to be all elderly voters. So again, coming across as like kind of a safe square, again, that's going to play to an elderly voter base who's going to get you through a primary, where Spencer Pratt's trying to win a general election in a city. So the average voting age in these elections are going to be younger. So he's kind of have to have a little extra edge to him. And yeah, to your point, I mean, it was like, you can tell the consultants have not got to him, because he was in that debate and the, Zoran clone or whatever her name is, was like, oh, him and Karen Bass are teaming up because they want to run against me. And he's like, what are you talking about? I don't want to run against her. She's an incumbent with like all the unions backing her. Why would I want to run against? And I was listening to that, I was like, thank you. That's like the obvious answer. Every Republican get up and be like, I don't care who I run against. I'm going to beat him and I'm going to take it. And then it's like, he's like, no, I don't want to run against Karen
Trump
Bass.
When he ran for president the first time around, and he was talking about special interests on stage.
Yeah.
And the whole audience was like, thank you for pointing out the
literally.
obvious, because he's able to actually like, I don't understand the argument that like he is this super, like he's this billionaire, really successful, but like he's not pretending to not be that. Like he's like, yep, I am, but like I'm still gonna do X, Y, and Z. I kind of get the same vibe from Spencer Pratt. Like he's not pretending to be like a traditional politician, or he's not selling you something that he's not. Actually,
it's more authentic than any of the politicians.
He's just leaning into his own persona. He's actually doing such a great job of going, I was the villain, right? And part of the villain was like, I was
self-aware.
I know who I am, and part of like his villain angle, it's kind of like calling everyone else's bullshit.
Right.
So he's like, I'm playing the villain, the TV villain, which is like the real life good guy.
Yeah.
Because I'm brave enough to fight through these people who present themselves as the good people, but they're the villains. They're the one causing all this terrible destruction. And that's like, just like Trump, he's owning who he is.
Mm-hmm.
It's the last thing, when someone accuses you of something, the last thing you can do, worst thing is get like super, super defensive. Mm-hmm. So you have to find out how to either like, what do they say? Like agree and amplify.
Yeah.
Right. So he's just like, yeah, hell yeah. And I'm going to get shit done because of that. Mm-hmm. And that's like perfect. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's really good at like parrying those, like very canned attack lines. Like it was so predictable when Nithya or whatever her name is got up and was like, he's a MAGA Republican. He just went, oh, because it's like not even worth responding
not
to,
even
because the audience
a real
knows.
thing.
Like the audience aren't idiots necessarily. But something was interesting. You pointed it out, Carter pointed it out, with a lot of these celebrities that are probably eager to get behind him and they're going to like secretly support him, but they're not quite ready to go vocal. I think part of it is because of the way the press has been handling his campaign. This is in the Los Angeles Times. They say Spencer Pratt's campaign spent more than $15,000 at pricey Hotel Bel Air. So what's happening here is a lot of these guys are waiting for that permission piece to come out from the mainstream media, the California outlets. They're waiting for a major outlet to come out and say, actually, it's okay to vote for Spencer Pratt. Because I think they still are very conscious. Everyone says, oh, the mainstream media is irrelevant. For a lot of these people, they actually kind of wait for marching orders from institutions like the LA Times. And the fact that the LA Times is the knives out for Spencer Pratt really says a lot about, well, A, Karen Bass's influence in the state, but the fact that just because he has an R next to his name, he's completely unpalatable to like, the mainstream media institutions. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see what comes first. Will the permission piece from the LA Times come first, or will it be a few celebrities just get up and say, you know what, screw it, I'm voting for Spencer Pratt?
Well, it's crazy that they're coming after him for staying in a hotel when his fucking house burned down.
Yeah, literally.
It's like he wouldn't have to stay in a hotel if you guys did your fucking job.
Yeah.
And he had a house.
Yeah.
So when they're trying to do, but do you really live in the trailer? It's like, this is my address. The house is gone.
Right.
Right. I'm here. I'm there because I don't have a house anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's just like, again, it cuts through everything. And that's why it's like he has like a perfect origin story.
Yeah.
Because it's like he never would have, if everything had been normal, like the fire didn't happen, but everything else in California was like shit, who would we have?
Yeah.
Because we had Rick Caruso 4 years ago who ran did anyone know about his campaign? Los Angeles, right? Like one of the top 2 most important cities in the whole country. Did anyone anywhere nationwide know anything about this campaign?
Right.
No, he was just like, again, kind of a stuffy old rich business guy, real estate developer, and lifelong Republican, switched to Democrat so people would feel comfortable voting him. Like some of my super liberal like family members were like, well, he sounds reasonable and this and that, and so they vote for him only because he has a D next to his name, though. If it was an R, they wouldn't.
Right.
And he got like 46% of the vote. People are happy to vote for function if they don't have to like feel bad about it.
Yeah,
So-
if you're constantly having to justify your vote, then you're going to struggle.
Well, so this is like the perfect thing about Pratt, though, is like Caruso does like the cuck thing where it's like I put a D next to my name, and now people vote for me. And again, Spratt's just like, okay, yeah, make me the villain, whatever. I'm gonna fix it though. Mm-hmm. And you can't beat that kind of like bravado.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
No, and it definitely, I think that there is always going to be a number of voters who just go with like name ID. Like Karen Bass has the recognition to be like, okay, a certain amount of people are definitely going to support her. She's been there for so long, and people just kind of check the box. There's a lot of lazy voters, just to be honest. Not everyone is as politically involved. That being said, I do think that there are a lot of voters who are looking at the R next to Spencer Pratt's name, and but then they listen to everything else that he says, and they're like, this guy makes a lot of sense, but he's also like representing, what I think a lot of people in Los Angeles are feeling. And it almost is kind of disqualifying at this point because of all of the dysfunction that has happened, not just in LA, but as I'm sure like throughout all of California, to have already been in office and like to already have political experience. It's kind of disqualifying because it's like you've already overseen the disaster for so long. Yeah, why would we reelect you?
That's their biggest criticism of him is experience. And at his perfect comeback
at this point, what do you have to
look
lose?
at Karen Bass's experience.
Yeah.
She experienced burn down her city.
She experienced not being in the city while it was burning down and then lying about it during a national debate and then getting brutally fact-checked by like CNN of all people.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really want a politician with experience if that's their experience.
If that's their experience, yeah.
And to your point, I mean, and kind of one last point here is, I mean, that's Karen Bass's weakness, actually, is the fact that all those undecided voters, they all know who she is. That means that they're not willing to support her. I mean, she could maybe pick off 10% of them, but everyone in Los Angeles has an opinion on Karen Bass. There's no one sitting around like, I don't know, I'm on the fence about her. It's like everyone either loves her because they're retarded or they hate her because they have eyeballs. So with that, I'm going to get to this next story. We're going to stay on the California topic here. This is from KQED, like local paper, obviously out of California. Hilton and Becerra lead Democrats for final poll for California governor. And California, the same way LA, they have a jungle primary. And what's funny is because, initially these jungle primaries were set up in these deep blue states to keep Republicans out of the races. They wanted it to be runoffs between two Democrats. What they didn't factor in was that everyone would eventually start to hate them. And what they additionally didn't factor in is if a bunch of Democrats ran and then the Republican vote consolidated around one candidate, you would end up with a Republican on the ticket. Now, as it stands right now, Xavier Becerra has taken the lead in polling. Most of it's because Swalwell dropped out and he absorbed a lot of those potential voters. So for a while, what was happening with Steve Hilton, a Republican, and then Chad Bianco, another Republican, were leading the polls. And so people were like, could the runoff end up being two Californians? Now, that's probably not going to happen, but look, a lot of the vote is consolidating around Steve Hilton, where we could end up going to a runoff between Becerra and Steve Hilton. Steve Hilton, a lot of people probably remember him. He was on Fox News for a long time. He's British. He actually was in David Cameron's government over in the UK about 15 years ago. But he's another one of these guys where he's media trained. He's not really nearly as kind of auriful, so to speak, as Spencer Pratt. but he's still kind of got a little bit of that it factor, just a little bit. And he's obviously having to, position himself in regards to national issues a bit more because he's running for governor of California. But the fact that he's holding his own in these polls, I mean, it kind of goes back to the point. I mean, California's still got some fight left in it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're seeing is that people have had enough at some point. So the Republicans are a little more invigorated themselves, but a lot of Democrats are kind of defecting in some way. Mm-hmm. And so what's kind of crazy though is Newsom was coming out and saying that if it came down to two Republicans, it would be a sign of something illegitimate that he would have to like intervene or something, which is of course hilarious because we all know where the illegitimacy comes from. But he's just admitting kind of like how fraudulent and sneaky the Democrats are. But no, this is a very exciting time to be a Californian being from Los Angeles. Like we actually have real possibility for anything. And that should be more exciting than for us as Californians more than anything else, that like there's a future here. We don't need to abandon our home.
Yeah.
There's a lot of doom and gloom right now in the GOP, I feel like, especially when it comes to national politics. And so it's a weird time to look at California and to like feel reinvigorated about the state and the trajectory of the Republican Party. No, I mean, Steve Hilton, his experience in TV, like, definitely helps, especially when you're up against, like, literally a bunch of nerds. It's like,
yeah, literally.
It's whatever. I was kind of confused by a guy with a British accent was, like, running for office in
California has a precedent of Republican governors with weird accents being...
Yeah, and I'm like,
Sure.
It's kind of, I mean, it's definitely not the worst thing about California, but it kind of stops me in my tracks every time. But like when we're talking about the aura deficit in the GOP, why are we all like going for Steve Hilton when you have literally Chad Bianco? His name's Chad.
True.
He's like a sheriff. He's like, yeah, I mean, he's a little rough around the edges, but like, I don't know. I kind of prefer that. I think it's great.
No, I mean, like aesthetically, it's like he's like more obviously like Californian because he's not British,
right?
Yeah.
That's
because he's from there
for
yeah,
sure. But like again, this is like I get so fed up with people who like want to be so nitpicky with politics. It's like, dude, what can we actually do? Like, who can win? My full support is who can win, right?
Sure.
So if Hilton's in the lead, he's got my full support. If Bianco's in the lead, he has my full support, right? Because Hilton's in the, I'm voting for Hilton in the primary. Mm-hmm. Because he's winning, right?
Yeah.
Like, it really makes no difference to me. I just like we need something back. But you're right, like Chad Bianco, it's better.
You gotta let him do
mustache
something.
Yeah.
He reminds me of like Curtis Sliwa. Like, give him like a cool job. Just let him do something like
for sure.
morale boost.
But you know what's funny is when people were like early on, when people were like Steve Hilton, I was like, he's like too bald and too British.
Yeah, literally.
Right. And but so he grew a beard. He didn't used to have a beard.
And
that was an incredible aesthetic choice to give himself a little bit more gruff, especially going up against a Chad.
Right.
So it's really, really helping him. And it is kind of funny how much those little things make a difference. People always talk about like the Nixon JFK when Nixon was a little unshaven and that lost him the thing. These like little things matter. But I just want California back. And so, I would love if it's the two of them. I wouldn't even care,
Right.
At that point, we could get into the conversation. But this goes to what you're talking to about the rest of the GOP is just like falling apart because we're actually in power in some regard now. Mm-hmm. And when that happens, everyone starts attacking each other. And when we're losing, it's when we're great because everyone's like, well, just support whoever's on our side versus the other side.
Yeah.
And that's a problem that like, I think too many people on the right, they're just dedicated to being losers.
Yeah.
And so they want to nitpick stuff. They want to just like attack our own side and fight over like who actually gets to be in control of the thing. When it's like, oh, great. Now the Democrats are just being left like uncriticized all this time. And they basically just have to do nothing but wait.
Well, because it's existential for California Republicans or California conservatives. Because, this is I made this point the other day about how Roe v. Wade getting overturned was the worst thing that ever happened to the pro-life lobby because now they lost their one carrot on a stick that they could use for fundraising, and now they're all pissed off at Trump.
And abortions are up. So
and abortions are up, but it's like, that was their one thing, and then now it's gone. It's like, well, what do we send in our newsletter now? Like, hey, we need to ban abortion in Wisconsin. Like, no one cares.
Around.
Yeah, and it's kind of the same thing with Republicans where it's like, once we've won, that's the worst thing that to happen to the podcasters, the conservative commentators? Like, what do we complain about? Now, like, conservative commentaries turn into sports radio where you have people calling in. They're like, the coach needs to be fired, or like, he should have been benched. Why is Vance going to Pakistan? Like, people start to get really, and there's a lot to criticize about the Trump administration. Like, I'm not saying, perfection. We shouldn't aspire for perfection. I'm just saying, to your point, when we're backed into a corner, that's when you almost see excellence. Like Trump, when he was running, part of the magic was because everyone thought it was over. Like if you asked a Republican in 2014, if you asked anyone right of senator, they're like, yeah, it's going to be President Hillary, and then we're all going to go into gulags in 10 years. And then 2 years later, Trump comes along, and everyone's like, all right, yeah, let's do it. Why not? Like if we're going to go out, let's go out and let's go hard. And that's kind of the same thing we're seeing with California, where it's like, once again, Republicans feel like they're backed into a corner somewhat. They're demoralized in large part. And then all of a sudden some hope comes along, and that just invigorates everyone. And so like, that's also why I want to get to the point, because a lot of people in the audience are watching are very California critical, and they have a lot of ammo. Why should Republicans even aspire to take back California? If
it's worth it.
Yeah.
California
It's
is
beautiful.
worth
It's a
saving.
gem. Are you kidding me?
You have literally everything. You have the beach, you have the mountains, you have the desert. Like you can go skiing and
Surf
you
in
can go
the
to
same
surfing
day.
in the same day.
Because
So
Same
they're-
day.
Not to
part of
mention
the
economy.
well, yeah,
and
because
the
part of
economy,
the
they grow all of the food in in America. They have Hollywood. I know Hollywood's like gay or whatever, but like
But it used to be cool.
Yeah, it
but
used
it's
to be cool.
actually like it can be
Rambo.
cool.
Hello.
If we totally gave up, we also partially forfeited that industry totally once we decided that it like wasn't worth
Because
saving.
this is the point I want to get to, is like this has kind of been the problem, this temperament and conservatism, is to like not retake institutions, is build parallel institutions. So they're like, well, we lost California, so let's build Texas to be the next California. And it's like, I respect it. It's coming from a good place, but I think Elon Musk demonstrated the importance of retaking an institution, because again, how many Twitter clones were there? You had like Parler, Gab, even Truth
of them
Social, and they all just like
took off.
sucked.
Yeah.
And it's like, he comes along, he's just like, I'm just going to take it back. I'm just going to buy it and like take it back. And I think that should demonstrate to conservatives that like, you can't build another California. And California, again, whether people like it or not, GDP wise, most important state in the country, you kind of just got to take it back.
Well, this is like, what are the words liberal and conservative mean? Like, are liberals liberal by definition of the word? And it's why because to be a conservative means you're playing defense in like democracy, which means you can never gain ground, you can only lose it. So like, conservatives don't want to win. And that's why Trump's like, I will show you people how to win.
Yeah.
Because you have to actually want to win, and then you have to try to win to ever win. And that's so like whatever the Republican Party was for a long time, like Trump has especially shown over this current cycle that like everyone that he endorses wins. Like this is Trump's party. And if you actually want to win anything, you have to be on the Trump train. Otherwise, you're just going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Like forget once Trump's gone, whatever's left of the Democrats actually want to win. And this is whatever you think of him, this is but Curtis Yarvin's like best thought ever, which is that Republicans like alcohol the way a wine snob likes alcohol, and Democrats like alcohol the way an alcoholic likes alcohol.
Yeah.
Who's gonna get drunk?
Where Trump's
Who's gonna get drunker?
Yeah, and Trump's like, and I think this is like what California Republicans also kind of have the same feeling, is like, okay, a big tent that's full of just different types of people that just lose everything is just going to create a big tent of losers, where Trump's like, I'm just going to eviscerate it all, and I'm going to create one path forward where we actually win. And you can either join or you don't, but we're not going to leave any room on the margins necessarily. And it's like, you kind of have to admire that, because again, the big tent, the Republicans did win elections. The Republicans won the majority of elections over the last 60 years, but everything got worse because, again, you just formed a big tent full of coalitions, full of ideologies that consistently lose everything. And then when you put them all in the same room, there's like, how do we lose, but like in a really beautiful way?
So I'm
Principal
curious.
losers.
Yeah.
I'm curious because you left California. You said during
yeah.
COVID, right? Do you have hope for California?
Oh no! Needless to say, I disagree with pretty much all of this.
Okay, so I was wondering.
Honestly, there's so much hope and optimism in this room. I find it bone chilling. I understand it. I love California. It's the most bar none the most beautiful state in the country. It's gone. Spencer Pratt's chances of winning zero. He is not going to win. And I think that at least from the perspective of liberal voters in L.A., I think they find him generally kind of piggish and off-putting, and I don't understand this authenticity you guys are sensing. I mean, his whole campaign seems pretty manicured, and his leaning into the AI videos. Don't forget, LA entertainment industry was like 12.5% of LA. They are not happy with AI.
Hold on.
It's a huge
I
backlash.
have to push back on this, because none of those are his campaign ads. His campaign is fully shot on red cameras. Like, I know his video guy, and every time all these news people are like, oh, he's doing all this AI stuff, those are all fan made,
But those are the viral ones. Those are the ones
No,
that
no,
are speaking
no,
to
no,
voters.
no.
and upsetting
His
voters.
most viral ones are
Bel Air
not.
one
No,
was
no, no.
pretty-
The Bel Air
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
the Bel Air one,
That
that
one
one's
was
super
great.
viral. You
Yeah.
know which one was? I thought his single best one was Black Hole Sun. I think it was like the Nora Jones version or something. Going down this like quiet little like nice little street with one homeless tent at the end, and how that thing makes every single mother in the whole neighborhood like feel unsafe. They are doing I like actual like traditional like filmmaking ads better than anything that we've ever seen. That those are like the one with him. The reason why all that drama with him in the trailer, but you don't really live there, because that was the one that blew up. That was the one that went the most viral. These other ones are also, yes, they're going viral, but those are all. That's how much like people.
It's just because he has a lot of traction.
Yeah, he has
online.
traction.
Yeah.
People are fans of his, and so they're trying to make more content.
No one's making Karen Bass.
Yeah,
edits.
no one's making Karen Bass.
But because they don't have to.
So
They don't have to.
I've seen a Nithya Raman ad, and you could tell they were like, "Let's do the Mamdani thing."
They're
but like,
trying.
but
if they could
it's
go
so
viral,
bad.
they would.
I'm
be
sure.
It's so
doing it.
bad.
They're-
And look, like I get what you're saying. I totally understand what you're saying. But the thing is that all these people in like, I had a tweet that I gave like a dozen stories of like terrible situations I had with homeless people. You know, I had something where like a girl OD'd and I had to call the police and all this kind of stuff. Like I got pushed into oncoming traffic by a homeless person, fires, you know, needles, human shit, like, all this just insane stuff, murders, everything. And it's like a very, very small amount of my stories that I put in that tweet. And I got quote tweeted with people putting their own series of stories. People have had enough. And it doesn't mean that everyone is going to jump on board, but all this stuff online, which is like really, really great. At some point, people realize that I don't feel safe in my neighborhood anymore. And they either have that survival instinct or they don't. But all this other stuff, and this is why he's so good about just getting to the actual reality of it all, that when you kind of get away from playing the politics game and you just see what's right in front of you, that is how you convince people.
Yeah,
All
he was
those-
talking about. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, please,
he was
please.
making a more of like an existential case to voters, where he was talking like you saw Karen Bass and this other girl. I keep forgetting her name,
Ramen.
but they're
Just think of like instant ramen.
Yeah, it's easy.
He's
Ramen.
cheap.
they're both.
We should lean into that in the
Synthetic.
campaign. Honestly, that seems like
Synthetic,
a,
ethnic-
Not
Technically-
authentic.
But they're
yeah.
both talking
Vaguely
about
ethnic,
like
yeah.
which committees they've been on, or like what what task forces that they've introduced. And Spencer Pratt correctly said, like, well, what task force or how much money can you dump on this issue? Let's just go to an underpass, talk to a homeless person, try to give them money, and you'll get stabbed in the neck. It's like
No.
that actually is the message that sticks to voters.
Yes, but-
far more effective
but
than
no-
anything the other candidates.
no amount of information is going to help low information people vote for their own interests. I mean, you're talking about the aesthetics of his ad, and at some level, there's an aesthetic sensibility in LA, especially people in the entertainment industry. But that's not going to outweigh the propaganda, and these people have been heavily propagandized for a very long time. So I don't have this
Propaganda
Pollyanna
is
vision.
so much before you step outside your house and like a homeless man screams at you and
Yeah.
like threatens you with a knife.
I understand that, and you spoke to that too. The minute you go in the voting booth, these people those experiences are going to get relegated to the back burner, and they're going to pull the lever for the Democrat.
I mean,
Maybe,
sometimes,
but
sometimes.
also, I don't know.
Like, look, the people do get mugged by reality.
Yeah.
Like, people do have the Drew Pavlo arc where you're super, super
Shout out
liberal,
Drew.
and then you get mugged, and then you're like, fuck, no, these people should be in jail, actually. And so, yes, we would not be in this situation if every single person had like a functioning sense of reality and just reacted reasonably.
Yeah.
But still, people do, at a certain point, people have their breaking points.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, have we gotten there yet? Are there enough of those people?
I would argue
hope
that
so-
like
hope there
literally
are.
having the Palisades burned to the ground is a pretty that's a reality check for a lot of those voters.
One
I'd
would
say.
hope. One would
Yeah.
hope. But you were talking about Roe v. Wade. I think we got a mini situation here with Spencer Pratt with going hard on homelessness. That's an industry in California.
Of course it is.
And they cannot let that industry be decimated. Like that is
Sure.
they're going to hang on to that no matter what.
Yes, there's going to be there's a lot of money being put in to make sure he doesn't win, because these people, a homelessness industrial complex,
Yes,
if you will.
exactly.
Like, the real estate developers, all of the people running these like nonprofits, and someone who works for Karen Bass just got arrested for giving drugs or like selling drugs to like homeless people and something like that, right? So they have all these things in place. You're right. The question is how many people are actually on the payroll of that versus the actual population. So then how many people are going to be affected by the propaganda put out by the people on the payroll, right? So it's just going to be a game of who's can convince who. And, and again, but like all that aside, the reality has to come into play because so much of politics is kind of like sort of intangible, like all these kind of things. It's like, oh yeah, this policy, that policy, and it's kind of, it's over there. It's a little whatever,
A little abstract.
right in your
Sure,
face.
sure.
Like I came home one time when I lived in Venice and I have a parking spot like right in front of my garage door. A homeless person had dragged a mattress and was sleeping in my parking spot, right? So like if I was a mom or like a woman or something, I don't know what I would do because the front door,
Not allowed to own a
the,
gun,
the,
basically.
the door to my house was also right next to the driveway. Would I have felt safe parking my car on the street and walking in? No, what I did was I poked the guy with my foot and I was like, hey man, you got to get out of here. And he's like, oh dude, I dragged a mattress. Like, I don't care, man, you got to get out of here. And I even like kind of like pulled it and got it out of the way and it was disgusting, but it's like, I would not have done that if I was a woman, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I shouldn't have to deal with that. And it's like, if someone has that slap them in the face at some point and be like, I can't even go to my own house. And there are people, there would not be liberals if there weren't people who'd be like, that's okay. He probably
Right.
needed it. Like that exists. That exists. But at
You really
some
needed to
point,
sleep there.
those things, they take a toll on people. So
Well, I think we should go kind of on that note to this next story from the New York Post. FBI announces U.S. violent crime rate plummeted by fastest rate in nearly 90 years. Quote, changes are working. Violent crime fell across the United States in 2025 at rates not seen in close to a century, findings from the FBI showed. Murder and non-negligent manslaughter plummeted by more than 18% nationwide last year, while aggravated assaults dropped by more than 7%. According to a preliminary report on national 2025 crime rates, violent crime rates on the whole dipped by about 9.3 last year, the data shows. And they put some graphics up here just kind of showing, again, this drop nationwide in violent crime. Now, I think there's two things going on here. One, to steelman and sort of support the Trump administration here, is they have created an atmosphere nationwide of accountability. I think that would be fair to say. I think maybe even Trump critics would maybe concede that, yes, it does feel like there's a new sheriff in town. We have seen that they're willing to pull the rug out with federal funding whenever they feel like you're not working in conjunction with the Trump administration's agenda. So I think a lot of these states, a lot of these police departments are now playing ball. I was talking yesterday on my show with Super Trucker, who has been exposing a lot of the, H-1B fraud or just, illegal immigrant scamming going on in trucking. Fantastic interview. It's up on the Tate Brown Timcast channel. You should go take a look. And he was talking about how California, funny enough, California at the beginning of the year eventually conceded, and they started changing a lot of the ways that they issue CDLs and these sorts of things. So a lot of these blue states are having to play ball with the Trump administration, and that is probably having an impact on violent crime. I mean, this is certainly what the FBI is touting. But one thing I want to say in addition to that is we have seen violent crime going down since COVID. We obviously saw a big peak during COVID. But nationwide, over the last 30, 40 years, violent crime has been going down. Scott Greer has been making this point on Twitter. He's catching a lot of flack for it, but he's like, look, whether we like it or not, the data doesn't lie. The 70s and 80s were an exceptionally violent time in our country's history. And so a lot of this is just coming back down from that peak. So while, yes, we should give the Trump administration credit for sort of creating this environment, this culture, et cetera, it must be noted that it seems like Americans are just getting less violent. I mean, that would kind of be the takeaway. I'm curious why you guys think that might be. What contributing factors you think it be? Because I don't sense that this is necessarily blue states and blue cities police departments firing on all cylinders. If anything, that would make it it should have been getting worse with the DAs. I mean, it's like a total Wild West in some of these cities. But we are seeing nationwide crime rates still continue to decline.
Well, I mean, I think obviously there is a very real decline. And then there's the question of, especially like when Trump wasn't in office, or like how accurate are these stats? We know a lot of like local departments don't track things the appropriate way. But I think a big aspect of it, and maybe people might not feel that things are as safe as they are, is not the total numbers, but where they are.
Sure.
Right. So we used to have we had a quite literally segregated society, but then we had a more sort of
Class stratified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was harder to get people more stayed to their neighborhoods. And so maybe it's a thing where if you actually break up the really violent populations from their secluded neighborhoods and kind of spread them out, the normal people actually get faced with it more, but the total numbers go down.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk to New Yorkers, they'll say, like, back in the day, certain neighborhoods would be total war zones, and then you would go a few. People would always say, "Oh, New York City, the whole city changes based off what block you're in." Like you go to one block and you feel like you're in China, and then one block you feel like you're in Italy, and the same thing kind of corresponded to crime, where one block would be exceptionally dangerous, and then you go a block away and you're like an elite society. Where when you visit New York City now, you kind of get a fairly homogenous experience throughout the city. I mean, there still are neighborhoods like Canarsie that are exceptionally violent. But generally, like no matter where you are in Manhattan, for example, maybe like barring East Harlem, there is this kind of general level of danger that you feel at all times, whether you're in, Gramercy Park or if you're on the Upper West Side or that sort of thing. So I think that's correct, is that crime, yes, it used to be higher, but I think it was also more concentrated, where now you feel like you could be a victim of violent crime even if you're in Beverly Hills or even if you're on, the Upper East Side of New York.
Yeah, and I mean, just because it's not as high as it used to be doesn't mean that it's still not like alarming or something that people encounter regularly, whether you're in California or in DC. I remember when I was in college, this was post-COVID, someone broke into my car and stole $20 out of my car. So that was great. And then they broke into a bunch of other cars in the neighborhood and stole some families' like baby clothes and things like that. Like they'll steal the most random stuff. And it's like, okay, the crime rate, might be lower, I guess, but like I'm still getting on the metro and like looking around and hoping that someone doesn't steal my like Canada Goose puffer, like that one video, or whatever, or stab me in the neck. And that's still definitely a fear that people encounter regularly. Like can't go to Chipotle without getting hit in the head with the wooden chair, apparently. But it's like, oh no, but crime is down. It's like, sure, but it's still totally a problem. And obviously it's a positive development. If that's the case, there are definitely questions about the accuracy of crime reporting in DC specifically. But it's still a real thing that people deal with constantly.
Because there was this. I mean, this is WREG. This is the local news in Memphis. I'm a Memphis native, so I can speak to this directly. The mayor's going around saying, well, overall crimes dropped 41% over the last 2 years, and it's because I'm such an awesome mayor. That's why. I go to Memphis all the time. It does not feel safer than it did 10 years ago. It feels far more dangerous, actually. And Memphis has always been an exceptionally dangerous city. Again, if you can read the Wikipedia demographics section, I think you can infer why that may be the case. But Memphis does not feel safer. And just because he's saying crime rates have dropped 41%, I'm still hearing, from my friends that still live in Memphis, obviously I now live in the DC area, that no, they're still getting their cars broken into all the time. My friends that are women are like, no, I'm not jogging. We had actually a pretty horrific jogger crime, just indiscriminate attacked a white lady that was jogging in Memphis. And that's changed the culture. Just that one crime was so violent, so shocking, that every white woman in Memphis specifically, just carries themselves a bit differently. And so saying, oh, crimes dropped 41%, they need to actually feel like it's safer. That's the key difference here, is like people don't respond to data. As we know, we discussed it.
Everyone's familiar with the expression, you lying with statistics?
Right.
Yeah, statistics are extremely deceptive. Like if you go from like 1,000 murders one year to 500 murders, it's like, yeah, that's quite the reduction, but like you're still dealing with 500. That's still more than a murder day. Like, not ideal.
And so like kind of going back to the thing where I was saying like, area stuff, right? Like when I was on with you a few days ago, talking about how like Beverly Hills now has like drive-by shootings. Like, okay, so if all of LA has gotten safer on the whole, but like now Beverly Hills deals with like violent crime, it's like, so, then the people might go, rich people, it's like, it's about time that you deal with this, it's like, okay, sure. But it's like, that means that there's nowhere to get away from anything, right? Like if you don't like the way something is, like my hometown is definitely worse off than it was when I was little.
Sure.
There's crime, there's home, even though like it's still relatively like pretty darn great. Like there's a little bit, and there used to be none.
Yeah.
It's the indiscriminate crime, I think.
Because it's like, look,
if you can't be safe
if you're a normal person,
you can't
all the
hide
right
out in
things,
a nice neighborhood.
Yeah, you can't. There's nowhere to, again, like it's always, and this is why going back to Pratt, like if you're a mother, it's always like the mother's thing with children. Mm-hmm. Like you can't do your normal thing where you would be safe. It's like, look, we're not going into the bad. Like when I was a kid, there was of course like everything like never go to Compton, right? Like Compton was the hood. All this. Compton's Mexican now. Like it's all Hispanic, right? So they kind of like gentrified it, if that word still applies. If you're not white, I don't know. But so then like where did those black people go? They spread out, right?
Right.
And so if you have like a higher contingency of crime from a certain population in that city, now they're just like spread out.
Yeah.
It's like instead of like this neighborhood being twice as violent as this neighborhood. Now they're both equally as violent.
Yeah.
And
think that's
you know,
what's
and
going on.
and this actually, like, again, I mean, I know I'm like from California. Not everything's about California, but this is the thing too, where it's like you can't live a life, set things up where you can just run away from
Sure.
stuff. And when people are talking about why should we worry about California, our problems become your problems. And then like the liberals that you guys hate from California, they're gonna move to your town and they're gonna do the
They're
same
going to
thing.
vote for the same thing.
They're gonna do the same thing. And again, the thing is though, it's like this doesn't really come from California. I feel like not enough people talk about like Prop 187 in 1994,
Yeah.
which was a vote to prohibit illegals from accessing welfare and services, and California voted to prohibit that, and then a judge overturned it, like the Jimmy Carter appointed
Yeah.
judge, something like that, right? So it's like we're just kind of like the stage for what else is going on
Absolutely.
in the whole country.
Well, we saw it. I mean, you had the proposition in the late aughts where they said, no, we don't want gay marriage.
Yeah,
And then
2008, we voted
5 years
against
later,
it.
the court's like, actually, we don't care. We're going to ram it down everyone's throats.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm from Metro Detroit, so I grew up when Detroit was kind of near its worst, and they're saying it's dropped now by 19% violent crime. It doesn't mean that when I go to Detroit, I don't want my dad, my husband, or anybody there with me. I wouldn't just like walk around. We got married in Detroit, and I mean, it was a great wedding, beautiful wedding, but we weren't in like the crime area of
I was
Detroit.
terrified.
We were like,
I went and I was driving around. I was like, what is going on? Are they okay? Do I need to give them money?
We're in Gotham.
it was at a museum, so
It was
kind of in a
beautiful.
weird,
the
it
venue,
was.
But you're surrounded by just blight.
Nothing. Yeah, it was crazy, and because it's right off like the main strip, but it's far enough back. You're like, where am I?
I was
So
terrified.
you're like shaking.
I will
We had
say,
security.
like-
Don't worry. Oh yeah, you were there too.
Yeah, well, my wife was walking to like H&M or something in the morning, and I was sleeping in. And she came back. She's like, some guy just creepily said like, "You shouldn't be walking out here alone." With
I mean, they'll do that. They'll do that, and they
Was he threatening me or was he trying to help me? You know?
It's not.
I
They
think
say
both.
that,
threatening. Yeah.
but they never actually like. It's very rare to see it actually happen where
I was
someone
just
does
like,
something,
don't
but they're
make
like,
eye
you
connection
shouldn't
with
do that.
people
It's
in
like,
the city.
okay, like
There is
I
something to
mean,
be said.
yeah.
Americans are getting creepier.
it is creepy. It is creepy,
Are they all
but
Americans though?
true.
Well,
Well,
yeah. There you
that's
go.
the question.
What is
There
an
you go.
American?
So I don't know. I mean,
Matt Walsh
again,
should do a movie on that.
yes, what's an American? I don't know. Like, it's a great trend overall, but again, I don't feel safe. Like, to your point with Memphis, I wouldn't feel safe just being like, all right, I'm gonna go. It's 9 p.m. Time to go take a nice stroll in downtown Detroit. I probably wouldn't do
literally.
that or anywhere in Detroit. But I love
Crime is
Detroit.
like not the only measure of like deterioration in a city. Like in California, if you're walking around and like everything is disgusting, all the infrastructure is terrible, it's super outdated, it's like there are a bunch of different measures that are still important that aren't just, although crime I think is probably number one, that would also point to just things not
Well,
going
crime's
great.
kind of like maybe the driver of it,
Yeah.
and you kind of deal with like a broken window thing, and like even when the crime is gone, whether it be permanently or temporarily, the ramifications are still there. So if anyone is familiar with the Santa Monica Promenade, so it's this big like walk street that goes for blocks and blocks with
Beautiful,
it's a
yeah.
big outdoor mall, right?
Basically, yeah.
And I have all these memories growing up as a kid with my parents walking down there and like getting like ice cream and like going to the stores and all that kind of stuff. And they have these like, dinosaurs made out of ivy and cool shit like that. And it's all vacant. There's like 4 businesses left on the
Yeah.
whole thing. And it's like, this was like a central part of like LA, of LA culture, and kind of getting to whether it be tourists or locals. Like, it was this really fun, amazing thing. And why would the rent's too high, the crime's too high, all this stuff just sort of lingers around. And though if you walk down there, you're not witnessing crime. It's kind of like, well, the potential for it or what used to be there, people get scared off and they just don't want to go back.
Well, getting back to your original question of why do we think it's going down, or the statistics say it's going down. I think people are inside all day on their phones. I think there's less people out doing things, so there's less crime being
It's that
committed.
damn phone.
That's
It's
what I wanted to
that
get
damn
to.
Look, it do be good and bad at the same time. It's like, okay, maybe
Zoomers
it's
don't be
good.
doing crime anymore. They just be on their phone.
Well, they're
true.
inside all day.
Well, that's what I wanted to hit on was because, President Trump, he was catching some flack the other day because he said, I think it's only 2% of the population that's like really roughing everyone up. And, 98%, he's like, I can deal with 2%. It's not a problem. He's basically just saying, like, let me take the gloves off, which is, they should. So true. But I think he's correct. I think what's happened here is that a lot of Americans just aren't behaving in ways that would facilitate crime. Like a lot of violent crime, and you can look into it. A lot of violent crime was like alcohol fueled or it was domestic. Well, how can you have domestic assault when no one's getting married anymore? There's no wives to wail on.
No one drinks anymore.
I know,
no one's
baby
getting
mom
laid.
now.
Yeah, no one's getting drunk, no one's getting married. So where's the fights
No
gonna
one's
happen?
cool anymore.
So now it's just this, real. So now it's just this 2% of the
They're
population.
sending death threats
nerds.
online.
On Twitter.
Yeah, literally.
yeah.
I'm like, do something at least to like it's Lindy to like act on it.
The guys don't have enough testosterone to commit crime.
That's a
they're
big.
all so
That's the whole
real.
psyop. Yeah,
It's
that's the
real.
plan. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's like gay now. It's
Yeah.
like, I'd almost be relieved to see the violent crime go up. I'm like, that means RFK, that means Maha's working.
But
And
you know,
honestly,
like-
should go to jail like once
Yeah,
for like a
literally.
night.
Yeah,
You
like,
know,
go to
that to me
jail
is like
for
proof
it,
of
but-
testosterone. It's like
Sure.
So true. Yeah. So I mean,
I'm not
like,
committing crime right now.
I know. So I'm just seeing this and I'm like, okay, this is great. But I think this is an indication that I don't know if Americans are like becoming more, because people will point this out all the time. They'll say, well, teenage pregnancies have tanked. And it's like, at first glance, that seems like good news. But that's not because Americans are getting more prudish. That's just because
They're not talking anymore.
they're not talking to each
Yeah,
other.
everyone's
Like,
just like-
where are the hoes at? It's a very salient question. Where are they?
Where are the hoes?
Yeah, where are the hoes? It's like everyone's old, everyone's chopped, no one's talking to each other. It's
Everyone's
like, what
an
is going
e-girl
on?
now. It's over.
It's horrible.
it's so over.
horrible. So that like we want to see. I think proof that Trump's reforms are working is if violent crime shoots through the roof,
Yeah.
if teenage pregnancies shoot through the roof, if everyone is like alcoholics. That means America's
More
back.
DUIs.
More DUIs.
Yeah.
America's back if that happens. So
But you are right though that it is such a small percentage of the population.
Yeah.
And they've even shown that like if you just get rid of like all repeat offenders, like there's no
Yeah.
crime left.
yeah,
to do.
literally.
And then of course we find our way back to the fix everything switch.
Right.
Right? Like really, really easy, just like Bukele showed us, if you just put the criminals in jail. But we the thing is we live in a society where people don't want to fix things. Like, and I had some tweet about Spencer Pratt like kind of go viral, and someone was like, saying he's not going to win, or he sucks, or he doesn't have an experience, or something like that.
It was probably Chris.
That was me. Yeah. Sorry.
And it's like like what's his how is he going to fix? He says he wants to fix homelessness. It's like, no, you realize these other people don't want to fix it because
Yeah,
they benefit from it, and that's like the kind of the weirdest, just like cognitive dissonance. If for a large percent of the population, especially liberals, they don't understand that the people that supposedly represent them don't want to solve a problem that they're talking about solving.
Yeah.
Right? Like if one of their organizations said we're going to like cure this thing, what I would assume is they were going to make it 10 times worse.
Well, that goes to what you were saying with the crumbling infrastructure in California and a lot of, the metro cities in the country. It's just like it goes down to not just crime, but the misplaced priorities of the ruling class.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, California spent $14.5 million on reparations, studying reparations, figuring out ways to hand out reparations. They have no priorities, especially for their own citizens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like famously, they have the high-speed rail that just stops, and it's
Yeah.
like in Modesto.
Oh,
And
it was
even
never
if
going
they
to happen.
do spend money
Yeah.
on like the right things, it's pretty clear that that's not always effectuated into like actual positive change.
Well, it never.
Right.
You could not have thrown more money at homelessness, and then it's like just totally gotten worse.
Yep.
So
A bunch of people have made a lot of money.
Oh, big time.
yeah, worse
solving
for
problems.
everybody else, but those nonprofit ladies with the salads, they're doing great.
Yeah, real.
crushing
Yeah.
it.
And people also still have like a really high tolerance for antisocial behavior. So even if we like had this Dubai level infrastructure, it would just get destroyed in like 3 years. Cause like we tolerate,
That's a
again,
good
to
point.
Trump's point, 2% of the population. Well, they'd like ruin everything. I mean, like literally when you go to you go to a public bathroom, you got to like punch in the Da Vinci Code to get in. And then there's no towels. The toilet's now like automatic. You got to do like a Jedi Force wave to get it to flush. And then they have like a leaf blower on the wall because like 2% of the population's going in there and like, Taz from Looney Tunes, like destroying and everything.
Well-
so now we have to like kid-proof society because these
you
two
have-
percenters.
And also because we don't want to actually enforce the crime. Like there are no teen takeovers in Dubai because they'll just like cut your hand
Well, look,
off.
like
Yeah,
if
literally.
they don't put you
Right.
in jail, if they don't put you in jail when you commit like violent crime, they're not gonna do anything to you if
Right.
you just like mess things up a bit.
And also, like, law enforcement has to be unapologetic about it. I think people still, like, kind of flinch at the thought of, like, arresting the guy that commits the crime because it's like there was that, obviously, with, like, the George Floyd era of things that totally shifted the narrative and I think kind of, like, rewired a lot of people's brains when it comes to crime. Even though it's, like, one of those things where it's like, if, like, you punch an old lady, you should go to jail. But now there's, like, all these weird nuances people are programmed to have. We need to, like, actually feel okay about enforcing the law. And
Right.
I think we're getting there, but
the
like
thing is that the cops, even the cops that like, oh, I would just love to throw this fucker in jail. They just know I'm gonna if I pick him up, I don't have either the.
if the wrong Karen is taking a video,
No,
on the
it's
corner
just
of
like
the
it's just
block,
like I'm gonna bring him
over.
back, and
Yeah.
either. Well, actually, it's like I actually don't have the authority to bring him back. I'd literally love to, and then he would be let go anyway.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, and that's the kind of thing that you demoralize the police officers.
Mm-hmm.
There was some kind of viral thing I saw on Twitter last few days where some guy was filming something in LA, and he got like assaulted by some passerby, and the cop was there, and he's like, you can come into the courthouse and make some sort of like statement against him, but like I didn't see it, so I can't do anything. And then, this other guy's like basically saying, you're impotent. Like, as a police officer, you're impotent. The guy's like, I'm just doing my job. And it's like, yeah, you're not allowed to do your job.
Yeah, literally.
And so it doesn't matter at what stage like, if a cop were to do something, their life would be ruined.
Yeah.
And even if you do try to, like, if the crime that they're actually allowed to go after is like if you go 7 over the speed limit, and then like the suburban moms who relate to like the kid drop off,
Yeah.
they're the ones that end up getting punished in society.
Yeah.
It's like a total inversion.
crazy.
It's ridiculous. And
Whoever invented a narco-tyranny, was that was like someone recently came up with that term, right?
Narco tyranny.
It's a great term.
Yeah.
Great term.
Yeah, it's the best thing. It explains everything.
It's so true. And this is what's so frustrating because none of us at this table are like regularly committing misdemeanors, right? And like, this is the thing. Yeah.
Speak for yourself.
Well, yeah.
With a broad
But like,
brush here, Tate.
just walk with me. Let's all pretend that we're all Boy Scouts here.
Yeah.
Like, like if you're consistently like racking up misdemeanors, that indicates that you have a lot of like antisocial temperament, like antisocial behaviors. You have an antisocial temperament, which is going to make you prone to committing more violent crime down the road. That's why those laws were there in the first place. That's why like jaywalking was a law in the first place. It wasn't to just like randomly pick off us when we decided to jaywalk. It was to punish people. You could build a case on them. Like, okay, this guy's consistently demonstrating antisocial behaviors. Let's throw him in jail. Well, now we've all agreed as a society that's like, wow, it feels a bit wrong to enforce like such a minor rule. And then these people are able to get away scot-free. This is why I like, before we get into the next story, this is why I like John Doyle's proposal, which is you get a punch card, and if you commit 10 misdemeanors, like non-traffic related, obviously,
jail.
you get killed. I think it's like, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. So,
John Doyle
and
for
Minecraft,
president.
In
That's my
Minecraft,
vote.
obviously.
That's a
In
pretty decent
Minecraft.
inroad to a Singapore version of the United States. I like it.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you graffitied 10 times. That's like honestly demonstrating that you're like holding society up just as much as someone else.
No, because you are literally promoting ugliness. You know, like I was in Austin like a month ago, and I went like a little like canoe ride or something, and we're going underneath the bridge, and I'm like, first off, how do they get under here?
Yeah.
How do they do that?
real.
But it's also like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Because they suck and they're like,
It's like I feel like something bad, really bad, should happen to you.
Yeah.
You're just gonna start graffitiing like it's like
And it's not even just graffitiing. Like,
No,
if you
no, but
commit like repeated like violent crimes, like Irina Zarutska's killer, he had however many
42?
like
42.
and like how many times he had been arrested for like violent crimes, and like he was still on the
It's the
bus with
judges.
everybody
It's the
else.
judges.
But
It's
everyone has the courage to attack the repeat violent criminal offenders. I'm saying, does anyone have the courage to attack the minor crime offenders that commit them regularly? Like a guy that has 4 littering tickets, you're out. You're done.
But I want
outta
the
here.
judges. I want the judges.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to unravel here. I think we should go international here before we pivot to probably the most important story of the day, which is Hooters. Let's jump into this story from the BBC, and that is the British Broadcasting Company, everyone. Rubio says Cuba is a threat to the United States as Havana accuses him of lies. So everyone needs to put on their geopolitics hats for this story. Cuba poses a, quote, national security threat to the United States, and the likelihood of a peaceful agreement is, quote, not high. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said his comments just come a day after the United States charged Cuba's former president, Raul Castro, with murder over the 1996 downing of 2 planes, resulting in the killing of U.S. nationals. Rubio said Washington's preference was a, quote, diplomatic solution, but warned that President Donald Trump had the right and the obligation to protect his country against any threat. Obviously, Cuba's pissed off about this. Their foreign minister, Bruno Rodriguez, really Cuban name, by the way, accused Rubio of, quote, lies and said the island never posed a threat to the United States.
What are they gonna do? They have like no food. No one has the body strength
What
to
are their
actually fight
options?
us.
Yeah,
Like,
this
what are
is
they actually?
ridiculous.
They like
They're talking
unironically
tough.
have no cards right now.
Like literally, you don't have a modern card. You're talking all tough. Like, what are they realistically gonna do?
Yeah, it's like
That's
going to
not what it is
war
for.
with like a refugee camp. It's like, what are they gonna throw rocks at us? Like, good luck.
I guess. Yeah.
Rubio says they pose a threat. They say it's lies. I mean, just on the face of it, obviously they're lying. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
What threat does
Deflect.
Cuba, plausibly pose?
Well,
to
isn't the
United
whole
just
thing
annoying.
really that
It's just
they're
annoying
not
that
like a
they're there.
direct
Vibes, yeah.
that they're not a direct military threat, but as they've always been, they're like right off of our
Or the
coast.
beachhead for other threats.
For like global communism, right? So like after the Soviet Union fell, especially, Cuba is like the global headquarters of communism, which is why they
So
did.
let it be. Let it be.
No, it's our
But no,
hemisphere.
it's in our. It's literally miles off of our
So
coast.
Yeah.
what? So
No,
what?
dude,
It's
Don,
just a-
Don
Nah,
Roe
I'm kinda
doctrine,
like,
man.
it's
The misplaced
Yeah, I know.
priorities of the
Ours.
ruling class.
Ah, man, that's. And
I'm
on
just
our own-
annoyed that they're there. Like it's making me mad. Like that's my. I'm very honest. You know, Marco
There's, like,
Rubio's
a
like trying to like lay.
major-
You know, Marco Rubio's trying to set the geopolitical table. I'm like, just take. Like no one cares. What's someone gonna do something about it? Like it's
There's a
ours.
major like I'm not touching you vibe with Cuba right now. They're like
real.
I'm not touching you. It's like yeah, but you're pissing me off. Also like I get that foreign policy is a huge issue and like deeply unpopular for obvious reasons with Iran, but I think it's definitely an easier sell for the American people just by the mere fact that like Cuba is in our hemisphere. Like I actually think like the Venezuela thing was not like the quagmire that people were scared it's going to be, not just because it literally was like a 40-minute operation, but also because it's like, oh, Trump was like, well, we'll get their oil and that's good for us. And people are like, okay, that kind of makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, you have
And
all
so-
all the gaming commissions lining up to open, you know, casinos in Havana, and I'm like, I don't care if it's good. I'm sorry, I don't really care if it's good for Cubans. I care if it's good for America.
course.
Because Marco Rubio, like, look, it's Florida. There's a Florida mafia in the White House. You know, we're already like scared we might lose Florida in the governor's race because like Byron Donalds like kind of sucks. So we kind of got to get a W here. This will fire up not just Cubans, but like from what I understand, because I'm one of these people that just like paints broad brushstrokes across the world. As I understand it, there's other Hispanic groups that are also like would like to see Cuba fall. Probably not Mexicans, but like Nicaraguans, I think would be quite excited to see Cuba fall because that indicate that things could change in their country. So again, like, you know, you make a play on Cuba soon, right before the midterms. If it's another success like Venezuela, that's a boost in the polls. I think that plays well with the American population.
Yeah, I mean, the Venezuela thing was just like really fucking cool, honestly.
It was
and
so cool.
some,
You even had
sometimes,
Laura-
libtards that were like,
yes.
it's kind of sick.
Yeah,
Or a
and-
deficit was like, here.
and you know, and everyone's like when that first came out, all like the people dubbed the panicans like, oh, we're gonna get like a massive like refugee crisis or something, but like that didn't happen, right? So like if the negative effects of what people always have problems with on a geopolitical scale like aren't there, then there's the cons list gets much shorter, and got to go back to the Don Roe doctrine thing, like because if Mexico is such a problem because of course the border and then the drugs, and the thing is all these nationals from all these other countries who have their own weird terrorist leanings come in through Mexico. So fixing the border doesn't just solve Mexico, it solves all the problems that then get brought to Mexico. Just like dealing with Cuba deals with all the problems that get funneled through Cuba.
Yeah.
And so these kind of things are actually like much more important, I agree, than like on the other side of the world.
And there's something to be said about the fact, and people have made, this is me regurgitating what people have speculated, is that, you know, the Trump administration keeps getting jammed up on domestic policy because of courts, because Congress is like horrible and retarded again. So like there's a lot of ways that the, you know, Trump agenda is getting jammed up domestically. Some people have observed that could be the reason he's making such drastic plays in foreign policy internationally, is because that is one, you know, realm what the executive branch has. They can basically do whatever they
Yeah,
want.
he can exert his will unfettered. You know,
yeah.
Whenever someone says that he's doing something internationally, why don't you not focus on that and do something domestically? It's like he doesn't just have the like, oh yeah, I would just, of course, I'm not doing that because I'm doing this. It's like, well, I can't do that, but I can do this.
Yeah, it's like the Trump administration, they declare a war on Iran, and someone's like, why didn't you focus on mass deportations? And they're like, oh, yeah, why didn't we do that? And it's like, no, I mean, there's a little bit more to it. I mean, I agree, like, there's a bit of frustration over how we've allocated political capital. I think there's a big conversation to be had there, and I would broadly agree. But I think that's true, is that, look, Trump is obviously this kind of generational, he's a turning point in American history. We're going to call this era the Trump era. He wants to make his mark on, and I think he wants to mop up all of these.
He's in legacy mode.
Yeah, and he's trying to mop up a lot of these international situations that a lot of presidents either didn't want to touch, or they didn't have the backing to touch, or they didn't know how to fix. And I think that explains part of his thinking here, is he said, well, Cuba has been, jamming us up geopolitically for decades. I could be the guy that solves that. And then I go in the history books, and if Iran gets, mopped up somewhat well, or at least we get out of it in one piece, then yeah, I mean, maybe Cuba and Venezuela are the ones that make it into the history books, and Iran's like, wow, it was a bad idea. But
Sorry to hard pivot, but it just came out that Tulsi Gabbard resigned.
oh, really?
Sorry, I sent it in the Slack. It was just hard pivot, but I saw it and was trying to verify
That's an
it.
important one.
So I had to send that. It's in the Slack for IRL.
Well, that would have been the lead. If
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
this
That
breaks
just happened.
the fifth wall or fourth, whatever wall.
So
we're
sorry,
breaking.
you guys.
No,
Yeah,
this is
it's-
pre-recorded.
saw
5
this
minutes
coming,
ago.
right? I mean,
Well,
Yeah,
I,
I heard
I
about
thought
that
she was
about
gonna.
so.
I thought she was gonna resign with the Joe Kent stuff.
She
Does it
said-
have a statement?
No, I have it here it's from Fox, an
I just
exclusive.
pulled
It
up.
said
If you want to
that
see
her
it.
husband was diagnosed with an extremely rare form of bone cancer, is what she wrote in her resignation letter. I mean, I'm sure that did happen, but I'm not buying that's the exact reason she's.
Well, what's interesting is, there's a lot of dunking. There's a lot of dunking that can be put on Laura Loomer, right? Everyone has a bone to pick with Laura Loomer.
Sure.
But when she reports on DC Scoops,
Dude, she's good.
she's
like
usually
there.
pretty right. She reported a few weeks ago that Tulsi Gabbard would resign in a few weeks. And then the headline comes through. There's something to be said about
I'm sorry,
that.
you're just like not gonna out gossip a Jewish girl. You can't
Yeah,
do
true.
it. You can't do
It's
it.
true.
that heritage, for the record, has been disputed.
Oh,
Really?
that's
Oh, yeah, I
true,
guess
yeah.
that's-
Oh, yeah.
It could be a lark.
I
It
don't.
could be a
I
lark.
don't. I've seen that, but it's like, what's the argument? What's the argument?
She
for
does
that?
doesn't know how to
behave in
draw a
very
Star of David.
Jewish way. Yeah.
It's not like they teach you.
I think it's.
Yeah, like training class
mean,
or something.
They could.
Yeah, it's called Hebrew
I thought
school.
that's what like.
I went
I
to
thought that's what
Hebrew
business
school
school
for a
is. Isn't that like, you learn reverse mortgages and stuff?
I don't know. I've seen people like trace her like family, because like everyone is like a Rosenberg and a Friedman like in her family tree. So I don't know.
Regardless, I mean, we were talking geopolitics, and this has a huge implication because a lot of people have, pointed out correctly that Tulsi Gabbard, historically, very anti-intervention. I mean, you would have to think she's been biting her tongue for the last 2-3 months over
gonna
Iran.
say.
I mean, people have said Vance, the people, have pointed out Vance has gone a bit quiet since the Iran war started. Is that a sign that he is like deeply opposed to the war, or is that maybe him just shifting strategy? Regardless, we're seeing scalps. We're seeing Tulsi Gabbard, obviously Joe Kent. There's been a few more quiet dismissals that were appointees that have left the foray, and I think this just adds to, again, there's just there's a shift. There's a shift happening in the Trump administration right now.
Well, I think Tulsi's been looking for a way out for a while, and I'm sure that her husband has a bit of, that's part of it, right? Her husband being sick, that's probably part of the reason why she decided to resign when she did. But I do think there was that timing coincided, and she was like, okay, this is a reason that's not going to slam the administration, that's not going to make anybody look bad.
But it's also an offshoot of what we saw with Massey this week. It's either get on Team Trump or get off the boat.
out,
You know, I mean, I think she's been wavering a bit. Because
Yes,
a lot of she's reversed a lot of her positions that she had prior to joining the administration. So I think it was kind of something that was inevitable. She's
Yeah,
one
I
of
don't
those
think
people that was not going to get on Team Trump completely.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think people have forgotten she ran as a Democrat.
was a Democrat.
Yeah.
Presidential.
No,
not
but
just-
she
not
was
just-
also a congresswoman, like a Democrat
Yeah,
congresswoman.
literally,
yeah.
it's not that she just happened to be a Democrat like RFK, where he has the plausible deniability of, I just shifted my views. She casted votes that were like in lockstep with the Democrat agenda. She was, again, ran for president as a Democrat. And okay, yes, she was outflanking pretty much the entire field on the right on a few issues. But on the majority of issues, again, no one would have really batted an eye. And she did like garner support in a Democrat primary. But I think that has more to say about, again, what the Trump administration was trying to do going into this term than it does about her, than it does about the Democrat base. Because, so many people said, well, the Democrats, they're going to moderate. And it's like, well, that's not the base. That's besides the point. I think this indicates, to your point, Chris, I mean, I think it's true, is I think the Trump administration right now, the atmosphere, the mood is purge people that are disloyal, because we're in a time right now, a lot of media pressure, a lot of longtime Trump allies have flipped on him. Right now, max loyalty is sort of the culture, the environment. And I can't actually really blame the Trump administration. I mean, again, when you're bleeding allies, this is the time to close ranks. When everyone loves you, it's quite easy to let anyone in. It's like, all right, yeah, let's build this big coalition. But again, once that coalition breaks down, at least in the media, I mean, I still think the base by and large, obviously, I mean, Trump scalped all of his opponents in the last primary cycle. It indicates that the base is probably a bit more on board with the Trump, agenda than a lot of people have pointed out. But I think it's true, is the general atmosphere, the general mood right now is tight in ranks.
It's kind of what you get when you stitch together such a big coalition. I mean, like Tulsi, she was definitely a big part of the reason why a lot of the independents got on board. She was like very famously, obviously, anti-war, and so I can imagine her being in a position where like she is having a lot of this happen right in front of her. And there are even reports, I have no idea if this is true or not, of her being like cut out of certain intelligence meetings because she just did not see eye to eye with the administration on certain things that were, very important, not just within, like in the political sense, but like to voters. Like these are things that you've seen a lot of discourse online, at least I have, where people feel like she's kind of forced to violate her conscience in this position. And so similar to what Joe Kent said when he resigned. And so I imagine it's probably something similar going on.
It's interesting because, this kind of, again, we got to start talking about 2028. The primary starts next year. And there's this kind of understanding that if Rubio and Vance run against each other, we could see a situation in which the Vance camp is kind of this ensemble of, Trump aligned people, but they've had massive disagreements with the administration and they got off the train. And then the Rubio camp may be more of sort of the more establishment elements, but also some of the loyalists that say, okay, I'll play ball with the establishment to get the football down the field. And that's going to put the base in a bit of a dilemma here because, again, you have really Tulsi's a very popular figure. I would say extremely popular within the Trump base, but I think nationally, I think a lot of people still have a soft spot for it. I mean, I don't want to put words in Tim's mouth, but as I remember, if I remember correctly, he was already leaning towards Trump. But again, Tulsi getting added to the roster is kind of what like really made it like.
I think a lot of people were in that situation where they were like, Trump's saying the right things, but having a lot of these people added to the coalition, Tulsi, RFK, that gave independents and a lot of undecided voters permission to vote for him because they were like, oh, well, if you're willing to bring these people into the fold, you are kind of extending an olive branch to somebody who is not traditionally a Republican, but has, concerns that the administration said they cared about.
And the fracturing, the fracturing of that coalition is also sort of trickled down to the fracturing of MAGA.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, you're absolutely right. Then this is the thing, right? It's like, and the midterms are going to be a really big sign of where things are going. Of course, like you're saying, the primaries, the primaries have shown that the base is still kind of completely behind Trump, whatever he says. But Trump understands that he has to get whatever he can get done in these 4 years, and that's almost like half gone at this point. And at the end of those 4 years, if everyone is much better off, that's going to be reflected in what the legacy is of not just his term, but who carries on the torch from that. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, okay, he did all these things to get elected, and it's like what I would imagine everyone wants is for things to get better, and everyone has their kind of maybe like more pet issues or things they care more about. But if the general well-being of the people is better after his 4 years, then he will have done the correct job. And if he finds that these people are in his way, and not just that, he gets all this criticism from people on the right who say, you're not doing enough of this. You're not doing enough deportations. The economy's this. So he's like, okay, well, I'm trying to do these things and I feel these people are in my way. So it's in his best interest to, like he's saying, like streamline, full speed ahead. Because if he doesn't get it done, then everyone has legitimate criticism, right? Because he has the full term to show his deal. And it's again, like it's on him to actually like come through with all of that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think, if tightening ranks is what it takes to achieve domestic victories, then so be it. I think with Tulsi's, at least the reported, reason she left, she's citing her husband, the bone cancer. I think that indicates that her departure is not going to be like the Joe Kent departure where he leaves and he's on Tucker the next day. Where I think Tulsi, this indicates that maybe she's just going to kind of step aside, and then I don't know, we'll see what happens in the future because she's very young by political, in political terms. She's, 40 or early 40s. She's a baby.
An infant by
she's a baby.
Terms
so
in DC.
Compared to DC, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll have to see which direction Tulsi goes. I imagine it's going to be fairly quiet, but to your point, I think, look, Trump's consolidating right now. And again, if this manifests in domestic victories, then true. But again, if this doesn't manifest in further domestic victories, if Iran continues to be jammed up, a lot of Republican voters are going to have some tough conversations going into the midterms, but certainly going to the primaries. I think it just gives your MTG wing more fuel going into the primaries. If J.D. Vance can't step up to the plate, if Rubio decides not to run, who is the successor? I don't really know.
That's the difficult thing about managing such a large coalition that inevitably, will fracture in many important places, is that now you aren't really left with like an obvious heir to the throne. It's, everyone's kind of floating Vance or Rubio, but like the reason they're floating those two names is because they kind of represent very broadly, and I'm sure there's a bunch of overlap, but they broadly represent like, more of the you hear like more of the anti-foreign wars people kind of going more in the Vance camp. Then you hear people who are more enthusiastic about interventionism kind of backing Rubio. I think this is a fault line that's going to be really important for, future election cycles. Midterms, I think, will be a good way to see how this kind of plays out, because it's like, there are some speed bumps from trying to implement domestic policy for sure. Like, we can't even get the Save America Act passed in the Senate, and it's literally just because there's no will to do it. There's no procedural issue with trying to get it done. If they wanted to, they totally would. But like, honestly, there is kind of a feeling, I think, where like, actually a lot of our priorities at home maybe are not being considered the same way, or kind of put on the back burner right now because we're busy doing all this other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that certainly seems to be the mood, even among Trump loyalists. I would say that is a bit of a concern. I mean, this is why, it's interesting. I think I consider myself part of the broader, Trump loyalist, branch of the Republican Party. I'm exceptionally loyal to Trump. Again, I believe he's the only show in town, quite frankly. That's the main reason for a lot of my support. But I'd be lying. I mean, I've been opposed to the Iran wars at the outset, and
that's usually the first spot where we're really loyal, MAGA supporters have started to kind of turn away or to say, like, to voice their disapproval was the war. That was like the first breaking point for even some of the most loyal.
I think the first breaking point was when he said, "Are we still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?"
Yeah,
I think that's when.
Oh,
it started.
that too.
Yeah, I mean, that aside, but like, I think when it comes to like kind of your policy wonks, again, I think for me, I'm still going to be, backing Trump. I'm still very pro-Trump. But again, Iran, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm opposed. I'm hearing you out. It was kind of a wait and see maybe at the beginning. And I'm like, it kind of played out the way I thought it'd be. I thought the bond market would like melt down. I thought food would shoot through the roof. I thought gas would shoot through the roof. I thought our East Asian allies were going to be in a bad spot. And that's all manifested, and it's like, well,
he literally said that he wouldn't. He was like, "Yeah, no new wars, guys," and everyone was like, "Great."
I know. When he said that, I was like, "What about Cuba and Venezuela?" I was like, "Wait, no, that's too liberal." No.
And he was like, "Wait, if I call it an operation, do you think they'll notice?" It's like, "Yeah, well, we still noticed. It's still pretty much war, actually."
But with that, I mean, I think the Tulsi story is just a footnote. It's relatively unimportant compared to the story that ripped across the AP line this morning. Everyone is talking about it. Hooters says bring the kids. This is per the New York Times. The chain known for skimpy uniforms and bikini nights is trying to change its image. Hooters onesies, anyone? And then they just write a bunch of like gay stuff here. But the gist of the story is Hooters is making a pivot. Obviously, they've been known for, again, the waitresses wearing quite skimpy clothes. It puts husbands nationwide in a tough spot where they have to say, "I just like the wings." It's been this kind of trope.
The wings are pretty good.
The wings are good.
Yeah,
and so are the fries.
There's two like Hooters fans at the table, which is great. I can't attest to their food. I've never been, but I think maybe that's because I'm a Zoomer, and I think people have pointed out that Zoomers, like 40% are functionally asexuals. Now, I don't consider myself an asexual. I have a beautiful Floyd at home, but. This is I think concerning. I think this isn't just like Hooters is making a business decision. There's some jokes to be made here, but I do think this indicates that like American society is, I'm going to make a broad philosophical point here. Over-sexualized in the wrong ways and under-sexualized in the right ways. And you're seeing really weird like results of this. And the Hooters thing is just like fairly on the nose, kitschy, masculine sexuality manifested in a restaurant.
So they just look at her tits.
Yeah, and the fact that
look at her tits,
and the fact that it's like dying again, I don't think indicates more prudishness in the American people. I think it indicates like this weird like kind of asexuality that's like manifested.
Well,
in the American population.
as a millennial, like we were the last generation who were allowed to be like heterosexual.
Yeah, it's illegal to be a straight white guy.
Well, it's weird. How are we supposed to like combat like drag queen brunch dancing with making Hooters less sexual?
But what's the story here? How are they incentivizing this? Is there some new rollout that they got going on, or
wardrobe change, marketing changes? They're just going to try and make Hooters into any other chicken store.
But
that's not what makes it great.
Yeah, I don't understand.
I want to see the Hooters, right? Like
I know.
It's again you're you could be called like nerfing it, neutering it, whatever it is. It's like
cucking it.
That's a good way of looking at it. It ceases to be what it is.
Castrating.
And you know what's there you go. What's funny is a lot of brands, institutions, whatever you want to call it, they kind of like defang themselves.
Yeah.
They kill the thing that is their whole identity. that is actually interesting or desirable or functional or whatever the attraction is. And then, people kind of try to like, refine things so they become more efficient in this regard. And like, it kills it kills it. It kills it.
Well, maybe it's a publicity stunt like Cracker Barrel did.
Yes, I was
could,
just
and,
thinking that. I was like, they're
And they're
Cracker
gonna,
Barreling
okay,
it.
do more people go to Cracker? Did that work? I mean, people
No, it
talk.
did. I think it was a publicity stunt.
No, but I'm saying, did it
Yeah.
work though? for
Spotify
Cracker
recently
Barrel?
tried.
I don't know what their numbers are,
I don't know
but
what the
there was so
numbers
much
are, but-
backlash that I almost thought that this was
Well, that's,
kind of like
IHOP was like, we're IHOP now and we're doing burgers.
everyone's
It was
like,
like,
I think they should
oh,
try to call that
yeah.
seasonal, though,
Cringe.
right?
But something that's interesting here, and I want to make this point, and this is a very real point. I know Josh will back me up. This is why I'm glad he's here. Is Hooters really, it really epitomized the demographic overhaul of the United States because of the wardrobe change. So historically, the Hooters uniform emphasized, and I'm just going to use anatomical terms here, emphasized the breasts. And the gluteus was kind of the that was the junior
Afterthought,
partner.
yeah.
Yeah, it was the afterthought. And then they actually radically changed the uniform, where now again the caboose was now emphasized, and then the breasts were downgraded back to junior partner. And what was interesting there is I think that actually indicated a lot of the demographic change in the United States because historically white men were interested.
Are you basically
in the breast,
saying
and
that,
then
that Hooters has been undergoing third worldism?
it's becoming very
Yeah.
brown coded. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but it's just let's cut the brass tacks here.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, and then
That's
I mean,
quite a
We're like,
connection there.
yeah, well, I think the wardrobe change amplifies that the country's becoming less white.
I mean,
think it's
that's absolutely true. So I used to my friends and I would go to Hooters in high school and college because like as soon as you have a car,
we would drive 50 miles to get there.
not 50, but we would drive all the way to Long Beach. So
Like.
that's quite a ways. Anyone from LA,
And the traffic, so it's time
yeah,
spent getting there.
driving to Long Beach, all the way to Long Beach.
Yeah.
You're like pooling gas money together. to
Yeah,
go to
yeah.
Hooters.
You're going for the wings, though, right? The good wings.
They're real.
there.
I mean, I love.
wings.
I had buffalo wings last night at some wonderful local establishment here. Pizza.
wasn't a
pizza and
Hooters,
wings.
unfortunately.
It was no Hooters. It was no
Unfortunate.
The
Hooters.
wings can't be understated. They are good.
I love buffalo. wings.
Aficionado.
I'm just saying, like, my
Like
parents
the
were there for
restaurant
my 14th
industry
birthday.
as it stands, like if you're a front facing in the restaurant industry, you have to present yourself in a certain way, right? So you have to be like well put together, this that thing, and so like it's a wonderful place for like young attractive women to get jobs,
Sure.
right?
and make tips.
and
No
make
tax
tips.
on tips.
No tax
And
on
make
tips.
tips.
There you go.
And of course, the attractiveness of the girl is always a bonus, regardless of her wardrobe.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to see a pretty waitress that makes you feel better, right?
There's like a trend where waitresses will try different hairstyles to see like what hairstyles get them the most tips.
Oh, yeah, that's
which
true.
is really fascinating. To
Depends
see,
on your
like-
hair, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I bet every person with their own kind of like bone
It's almost
structure and all
always
that.
like braids, like two
Two
pigtails.
pigtail
Real-
braids.
oh,
does it?
yeah, 'cause that
Yep.
makes them
Every guy will yell.
Yeah, they're like, look at
Oh,
this
yeah,
youthful little
yeah, okay,
lady.
hey, but
Yeah.
hey, let's like let's give the guys the benefit of the doubt here, as opposed to going to some sort of very inappropriate place that probably a word I can't even say on here.
Lolita.
Maybe
the girls
she's,
love it. I don't know.
she's just a young girl. She needs to make some money. She
Right.
pull some guys here.
That's
But
really
she's not a stripper,
But look, it's like okay. Men, we're already sexualizing the waitress as it is, right? If you're a
Sure.
woman, it's like it's already happening. So just like allow them to lean into it, have some fun with it. It's
Okay,
harmless.
but bringing kids there.
That's the
Kids-
thing.
That's
you
the
also
conversation.
you're missing
Totally
the whole thing.
They were breastfeeding like 4 years ago. What are you talking
Okay.
But also, everyone's missing the whole thing. Have you been to Chili's? You can't sexualize those waitresses. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Nobody wants to-
That's why
It's
they
like
work
my
at Chili's
600-pound
and
life
Hooters,
over
yeah.
there. It's unbelievable.
Well, they wouldn't be able to move, but it's close. Yeah,
It looks like a DMV. I'm sorry, you can't sexualize that. Are you kidding me? It's unbelievable.
Listen,
So you're
at
saying
least-
there's a
Do you
space
think
for
fat
it.
people ever like apply to work at Hooters? Like, do you think they're ever like?
They were like,
I-
technically, they are quite large, but
Yeah.
so is the
Right.
rest of me.
It's inflation.
Like, do you think there's like a ratio that?
Oh, there's
like, Hooters
definitely, I'm
abides
sure.
this?
by
So Hooters
for,
used to
like,
be
measuring?
they used to be
I
like
have heard
selective
a
based
rumor
off of.
about some girl told me that you had to like this is when I was in middle school. She's like, in order to work at Hooters, you have to walk up to a wall and your
I heard
breasts.
that.
Yes.
I know, I heard
wall
that.
So
Before
this
before
is
your
true.
face does.
It's Hooters used to hire based off of the attractiveness, and then now it's based off of like skill, and it's
Off
like,
of like
what?
if you're
Like,
technically-
so
I'm sorry.
stupid.
I was a waitress. I'm sorry. Like, there's personal things. Like, you have to be like, nice and happy and all that. But the skill level, I mean, you're carrying things to a table like that. I'm sorry. Like,
spill.
like there's good like
That's why
balancing. That's the
teenagers do
most.
it, yeah.
Exactly. Like, there's.
I know this is a low level, like a low resolution take on this, but I think it's positive. At least in the gender goblin world that we live in, some level of femininity is being
I do love that.
appreciated,
I'm here for it.
even if they're
agree.
kids.
I
you know,
I just
mean,
think that
Yeah.
with the conversation of not wanting kids to learn sexual things at a young age,
there's
you
nothing
can't make it
inherently sexual
exclusion.
about the
They're already
body,
learning
you
it.
know.
I know.
Well, they do.
There you
These-
go.
these-
Way worse.
Thank you.
I'm just saying,
these
if we're gonna
libtards
be
do a bait.
consistent.
Yeah,
They
these
need to
libtards do a
replace,
bait and switch
like-
where they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna take my kids to the the gay the molestation party or whatever," and then I'm like, that's wrong. That's clearly wrong. And they're like, "Oh yeah, well this guy on Twitter took his kid to Hooters one time," and I'm like,
It's
still kind of weird, but like not the same thing at all.
Not close.
way better.
I'm
They
just-
You
need
could
to
totally
replace sex
steel man
ed.
this.
Like, who
and
We can
say-
steel man it. I'm just
I mean,
trying
look,
to be consistent.
you could make the argument that like they're making it a little less sexual to invite more people.
But then they would have to. I think the idea is to make it less sexual is to inherently change what Hooters is about, which
Change,
wouldn't
like, the
work.
brand
Well, look,
like,
at the end of the day, they're a business, so in their mind, they're like, if it's less sexual, then more families will bring their kids here, so we'll get more business.
right, that's what I'm saying.
It's
I
still a
guess.
little
But
sexual.
no
everyone's
one
like
goes to
asexual
Hooters for the
now.
wings.
Aren't like divorce rates going up anyway? Like where are all the divorced dads going to
No.
congregate?
What's interesting is, and this is
go,
part of the
yeah.
problem, is divorce rates have never been lower because the only people,
'cause no one's getting
there's no-
married.
the
Yeah,
only
no one's
people
getting
getting married are
I
like
mean,
dialed
that
in.
kinda still works then. Like where are all the weird unmarried men going to hang out?
I'm just
There
saying,
are.
like, they don't need
They
to be
just
around
die
the kids.
alone.
No, they're at home on like
Online,
So sad.
yeah.
They don't
yeah.
even
They
have
need
the
to go
common
back to
sense to go to a
Dude,
goddamn strip.
Go to Hooters. Like
Common
ban
sense.
OnlyFans. Make
Common sense
Hooters.
They
conservative.
need to subsidize Hooters at this.
I think we need to
It's a
like
national security issue.
reinvigorate what Hooters
Run
was
on
good
that,
at.
yeah.
Yeah.
Spencer Pratt, if you can
Rebeka
hear me,
for
please.
president.
Spencer Pratt, please, if you can hear me, please.
I
save
say
me.
go in the other
Please subsidize
direction.
Hooters.
Other direction. Don't make it kid friendly at all. Keep it what it is, but make it better.
Their top
And then, okay, close enough.
Yes, we're getting
Europe,
somewhere.
okay?
And
this
then-
is America. This is
No
not
kids,
Europe.
and then we can ban
Is this Cuba?
OnlyFans. And
Yeah,
now the
let's do it in
waitresses.
Cuba.
Yes,
We're gonna take Cuba and make it a big Hooters.
Make
it's
it
gonna
the
be a
worst
big
capital of
Hooters.
the world.
Yeah, but this is a big problem. This is a big problem is that, again, like everyone emphasizes like the most gruesome, horrific parts of like sexuality, which is like the women are reading like smut, like the most disturbing books you've ever seen in your entire life.
About, like vampires.
Yeah, and then the men are like watching like the most disturbing pornography you've ever seen in your entire life. But like normal, ordinary, boilerplate
you know what,
sexuality is like
actually-
frowned upon.
So, I swear I don't know from personal experience. I just think I'm using what the culture is telling me as some information here. The rise of OnlyFans, I think, actually shows that men are getting less fucked up into weird shit sexually, and they want some sort of semblance of an emotional connection with the person that they're observing.
They can like pay to talk to talk.
Because
I think it's broadly
they,
true,
They,
yeah.
they want like they actually feel like because some girls will like post their earnings online.
Mm-hmm.
They show how much of it comes from like tips in chats.
Sure.
It's actually like for many girls like the majority of it. So actually, you have a bunch of lonely guys. That they're not looking for like a bunch of like depraved, weird, fucked up sex stuff. They actually just like want someone to connect with, and so getting someone that you might have some kind of attraction to in like even like a deeper sense, then you kind of get to see them in a sexual sense. So then you get a completely neutered and asexual, full romantic and sexual experience. You never get to touch them.
Well,
You never get to feel them.
because I think the guys that have filtered into consuming OnlyFans content are the guys that would ordinarily just get girlfriends and wives. I still think like the depraved guys who are into all the weird stuff are still engaging with that. But now you've picked off a group of guys who would ordinarily be well adjusted, and now they're getting siloed into OnlyFans because the dating market's a train wreck. Like, they don't know how to put together a good Hinge profile. Which ChatGPT can do, by the way. But
also,
it's like what?
Okay, so like you were saying about the downfall of Hooters, though, you can't discount how many of just like the third world, a bunch of guys who would never ever get to meet these girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
So they live in a whole different country.
Could you imagine Hooters in Toronto? Oh my gosh, dude, it would be crazy.
You know what? When you
Bruh.
started that sentence, I thought you were going to say Hooters in India, but you did say that.
yeah,
He did.
exactly.
He basically did.
Like
yes.
the women working at a Hooters in Toronto would have the same combat experience as like a Navy
bodyguards.
SEAL.
They need
like
security.
they would be grizzled like veterans. I mean, it would be unbelievable.
But also like the chat thing, I imagine that like I think probably there are some people who are just looking for like a personal connection, and it's definitely easier to kind of like fake that or to have a similar experience just like online. It's like definitely less intimidating than going up to a woman. You can like just instead pay her $5 and like she'll say that like you're handsome or whatever. But like I do think that it's still pretty much okay. And like it still is a trend that like from what I understand, that like women who get involved in OnlyFans or kind of like soft launch a career in this, industry, if you want to call it, they eventually kind of up the ante because that does make them more money. The crazier things that they do, at the end of the day, like the more degenerate it becomes, the market is bigger and they're willing to pay more for that sort of thing. Like that's very much still a reality.
No,
Like,
I mean, look,
people pay to
again,
do
it's like, I
crazy
think
things.
what the guys are wanting is a sexual something, even if it's just visual, with someone who they feel like
A degree of exclusivity, even.
well,
if it's
not
artificial.
even that. It's like it feels more like approachable. Like it's because
Right.
like a
Yeah,
porn
makes
star used
sense.
to be this like very artificial, overly done up thing, and it's like not you couldn't touch her, not even because like she would never look twice at you. It's like she almost feels like an artificial object.
Overly produced.
Yeah, overly produced. Versus like this is like the girl that like I walked by me at the grocery store. That all of a sudden I was just like, oh my god, I'm in love with her.
It's like watching a box office hit versus like going to a film festival.
Yeah.
Well,
It's so indie.
I gotta say
So
that
indie. I'm like more into indie stuff. You wouldn't know.
stuff. That's funny. That pipeline that you're talking about is being brilliantly dramatized right now on the HBO series Euphoria in season 3.
Yeah.
And
I've never seen it.
well, it's
only
not for the
seen-
faint of heart. I mean,
it's pretty rough, yeah.
It is, but I mean, but they do dramatize a lot of the stuff that is actually impacting young people at that age.
Yeah.
And the Sydney Sweeney character is going through that exact pipeline from, well, how far can I take it? Oh, there's going to be more money. Oh, well, is this going to give me a pole vault into Hollywood? And it really, I think it's a very insightful, brilliant show.
I would even say that like the Sydney Sweeney, and I've only seen like a couple scenes from the new season. I haven't seen the whole show in its entirety. So maybe I'm not the most qualified to say, but like I wouldn't even say that her storyline, the OnlyFans storyline, is overly dramatized. I'd say that that's like very realistic actually.
Yes.
And I thought it was refreshing to see such a show that's so huge in pop culture accurately represent something that so many women have been convinced is like totally chill and super empowering and just like a great way to make a quick buck. Because there are definitely girls that I went to like high school with or that I've worked with who, were like, oh shoot, I like need money really quick, or they think that they have all of the power in that scenario, and they, start an OnlyFans and they're able to make thousands of dollars by exploiting themselves. It's a really, I don't think it can be overstated how kind of depressing it is to see people that you went to school with, do things like that.
Well, so when we were talking before about how like talking about crime and how things were like segregated.
Yeah.
So it used to be like if you were like a porn star or something, you're like in that kind of like part of society and you're like removed from all of us like normal people. And so it's like it's okay when it's that like
You had to go to the store and buy like a magazine and be embarrassed
you had to go
if you
do
wanted
it.
to.
And if you wanted to be a porn star, you had to put yourself in a really weird situation.
They used to want it.
They had to
Used to
want
fight
it better.
for it.
How many casting couches have you been on? Damn it! No, but like really, like you had these people who like they were already fucked up, and so it's kind of like we have a segregated population of the society
Freaks.
that does these things, and we're all
Right.
normal people. And okay, we're gonna peek behind the curtain, but like that's about it.
It used to be in the shadows, but now it's
But
domesticated.
yeah, like it's much more devastating when it hits close to home that it's like your own, like you're saying, like your own friends.
Yeah.
Like your father, your own daughters. Like it's like, oh, but we're a normal family, and then this is just happening like in schools. That's when it becomes like way more destructive. When the people who are part of normal society, or at least trying to be normal, it gets into there, and that's like where things get really.
I've also seen videos where like the siblings of some of these OnlyFans girls who have like younger brothers.
Oh my gosh.
And they're like,
it's so
they're,
bad.
I've
they're
seen
they're pleading with their sister who thinks that like what she's doing is totally insulated and
Oh,
harmless.
that guy's getting destroyed.
And
at school.
he's like, I'm
Destroyed
getting
at
bullied
school.
relentlessly at school. I've seen things I cannot unsee. Like, you are ruining my life for like some sort of superficial, attempt to like make a bunch of money. I mean, they are making a bunch of money. That's not superficial, but like it's like fake empowerment. It's not real. Like, you are kind of degrading yourself more and more, unfortunately. And it's not just you, the person that's doing OnlyFans that's suffering from it. It's the people around them. It's their family members. It's their future children who are gonna have to grow up seeing that their mom's digital footprint is not just like cringe selfies from middle school. It's like literally pornography.
Yeah, especially because it's like, I mean, to your point, yeah, it used to be the freaks over here, and then this hits close to home. But I mean, women already have an easy source of. They have the laptop jobs. Women can just do the laptop jobs. Like, you really got to go there.
The remote corporate 9 to 5.
There's already a reliable source of income that's like very like women centric already. Why do that? Just get the laptop job. It's equally as demeaning, but at least you're not going to offend your brother.
Well, I mean,
but they make millions of dollars. Like some of the girls, and I will say, like,
it's probably like 1% of them. Right?
I was gonna say, I do think it's totally overstated how many of these girls get like filthy rich. But like you see, women especially are so influential, and like these videos from OnlyFans girls who have social media profiles that are not pornographic, like that's just like a day in my life. They're exorbitantly rich. They're flying all their friends out to Coachella. They have all of like the expensive bags and everything like that. And most girls, I think, to an extent, look at that and they're like, wow, that's desirable, and they're convinced that it's within reach. So I think like, yeah, I do think that you could just do your 9 to 5 and answer emails all day. But I think some girls see what could be and are motivated by that.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable. Carter, I mean, on that note, do we have questions ready to go yet?
We are asking for them.
We're asking for the questions.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still like many points that can be made on that. I mean, one thing is Hooters probably siphoned off a lot of these women that would ordinarily go into OnlyFans and these sorts of things, because I think partially like it's this weird. I'm trying to drill down on it, but I can't quite put my finger on it. But it's like it's almost like people are repressed because they don't have access to sex because like marriages and relationships have completely broken down. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, they're over-sexualized in a way where there's no exclusivity to it anymore. And this goes far beyond what we're talking about, like obviously overt pornography and stuff, is like people, even like in the evangelical world, will just like spill their guts about their like sex life and this sort of thing. Like you'll see these weird TikToks where it's like
testimonials.
Yeah, where it's like, here's how we like brought like spice back into the bedroom. And I'm like, you're two fairly normal people and I'm like learning about your sex life. This is like horrifying.
Mr. Feeney recently. Mr. Feeney from
Oh
Boy
my
Meets
God,
World.
I saw that.
He's 99. He's talking about how they're open marriage.
99.
Oh no.
99.
Literally,
Unless
Mr.
I'm wrong
Feeney.
about
And
that.
his wife is still alive. She's like 96. They're both still alive.
And their open marriage saved their relationship. Was
And
the
they're in
story
their
in the New
90s.
York
You're
Post.
What marriage?
What a cope.
What, like
Big
you
cope.
made
Mr.
it. Like
Feeney,
what's left to
did
say?
you-
Like,
does
you
that mean
had
yours?
one.
Okay, yeah, fair
Okay.
enough. Fair enough. But
Boy
I
Meets-
want to know less.
Right? No, I
It
totally
was like
agree with you.
like a kids show, like a
Right.
kids sitcom, whatever thing. Like literally for my entire child, it was like my favorite show as a kid. And like Mr. Feeney is this dude's teacher from like the fourth grade, like through college
It's
somehow.
so
He's his
bad.
next door neighbor, and he's like the
You don't know Boy Meets World?
no, he's
No.
Zoomers. They
Oh,
don't know.
man.
But this
It was
would
an
be like if
I've heard of it, but I
it'd be like
I
if
did
I think it'd be like if SpongeBob had OnlyFans.
But like okay, so this guy is like
Pause.
he's literally like the wise
awesome.
older
Use
man.
AI for good.
Yeah. No.
He's the wise older man that like cares about you because he's like literally your next door neighbor, literal next door neighbor, and he's like your teacher your whole life. So for I feel like my generation, we kind of grew up like he was sort of this like weird paternalistic.
Oh,
figure for us.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's like see this is the thing when people try to like break down walls. Like, look, everyone has sex. Like this is like not everyone, but like it's a normal thing,
Right.
and it's fine and it's good. And we can sort of again like there's the thing over there that lets you get into the weird stuff, and also just like do whatever you do in the privacy of your own home. And you can like allude, but then it's like you're just like talking openly to promote to the whole world all these weird details, and it's like no one needs to know that. Like it's so awesome that him and his wife are having sex in their 90s. That's great, but like, why are we talking about it?
Exactly.
And not only that,
I don't want to.
There's no sense of privacy.
but then it's like,
Yeah,
and then the
real.
open, and it's just like, dude.
It's all across. Everyone's just spilling their guts all the
Yeah.
time. I'm like, am I the only person that like keeps my life fairly private?
But look, okay,
It's
look.
okay to confide about these things like with your friends,
Right.
Like, and even
Yeah.
then, very few.
We just
friends.
don't
Like,
have
Yeah,
have
literally.
clear lines anymore because we all have our phones and we're on social media.
Yeah.
And so like what it means is to
that
like
damn phone.
yeah, to
They're
like
real, they're
say
right.
your things like that a random thought that you have, you put out on a tweet and it can get millions of views and you can lose your job.
Yeah.
And it's just weird. Like that's the kind of world we live in, and it's gonna be really weird to see like the kind of like snapback rubber band effect from that. Because okay, my first thought like in the last few days, I was just like, I mean, I'm not the first person to say this, but like we're gonna get to the point where every single person running for political office has had social media since they were a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be unscrubbable. And so it's just no longer gonna become a problem.
all the Harry Potter fan accounts, like the One Direction, like
Okay,
imagine.
listen,
accounts.
I don't
I'm
even
like,
really listen.
Tate.
I felt that was personal.
But like, what do you
personal.
do? What do you do when like everyone
creative
has
writing.
said inappropriate things, sexual things, slurs, whatever it is?
But that's why you had this lady that was running in the 13th district in
Oh,
Michigan.
of course.
Oh,
Oh,
she's
stop.
completely
Wrote it back.
leaned into it. She sees the writing on the wall of what you have to do in
Like,
the
I am the
On a
October
kitchen
surprise.
counter, yeah.
Anyway, we are going to read some Discord.
We got to get to these people's
stuff
questions.
now.
Everyone is
And
just
Tate, I've
blowing
got
up
a
our line.
couple
They're
for you here.
They love us.
they're hitting a brother on the hip here. Let's see what they have to say. From Taylor Lorenza's ex-wife. I'll just open this to the panel. How would you feel about the retro Pizza Hut bringing back the old Hooters style outfits?
That'd be a crazy collab.
I don't, because I didn't experience. You know, everyone's like going on about the retro
Have you seen
Pizza Hut.
these-
I know what they look like, but like I didn't experience
Like,
Prime
so
Pizza
this
Hut.
guy's like a franchise owner, and he's got like 80 locations.
Amazing.
He's doing that to all of them.
Yeah.
But wait, are they saying what if we had the Pizza Hut people wear the Hooters?
I think
Yeah,
they're trying to
I don't really
hybrid the peak
understand.
nostalgia.
Well, then you're just kind of like like that's
Kind
not
of,
what
yeah,
Pizza
you're
Hut is.
ruining it.
Yeah.
You're like, you can't reinvent.
Yeah, you're just like
what's
pure,
already
you just,
been
like throw a bunch of
mastered.
nostalgia together.
Yeah.
It's like
Well,
then it's nostalgia
Because
slop.
by the
at that
time
point.
Pizza Hut got to me, it was already slopified.
I
Oh,
guess
yeah.
I-
Yeah, you
People
don't know.
apparently, I didn't grow up going to Pizza Hut. I don't think it was like nostalgia. It was like cool when I was.
No, you
know,
missed the boat.
And like my parents aren't from America, so like we wouldn't
it's-
eat. I didn't have like a lot of important American like experiences growing up. But like from what I understand,
Deport. That's why I said get out. I was
Yeah.
like, wait, no.
but like from what I understand, people would like go, like their families would go together and sit down in this restaurant and eat together. That's
So like
people
go-
don't even people just DoorDash everything.
So going
They
out,
don't even go to the
like
restaurant.
we didn't really go out to Pizza Hut. But, like going out for pizza was a thing, like pizza night, you know. And so like going out to like, I mean, I got pizza last night, and I was like the only person in the whole place. But you know, like, people. I mean, going out to dinner is of course not a novel concept, and people still do it. But there was kind of this more like we're gonna go out and have an experience that's not just like.
I think that's what they're trying to bring back.
Because you know what the millennials, like the hipster millennials did, this is like the 2010s were bringing all this like higher quality food to places and kind of like industrial setting and like artisanal stuff and the
Breweries.
microbreweries and all that kind of stuff. And
With
it's
the
like,
handhelds.
and that's cool. Like, dude, like now you can get like a grass-fed burger and tallow fries and organic, and like that's great. But there's something kind of like weirdly wholesome. Not like the ingredients have to be bad, but like the kind of wholesome family experience that doesn't have to be something trying to be greater than it is. It's just like this is just like fun and
Yeah.
wholesome.
Maybe wholesome chungus doesn't have to be a prerogative. Maybe that can
Yeah.
be like
Yeah.
nice every once in a while.
No, because like you want to be able to like take your kids and just like go for a fun time.
Yeah,
and it's, like,
literally.
yeah, now the only places you can go are actually the places that are like really expensive and like really nice,
Yeah.
or like Denny's.
Well, yeah, because
And
that's
in
the worst
Denny's,
part
you're
about
gonna
the
get punched.
because you go to the wholesome real
someone.
and you go to the wholesome
Probably
Chungus
the
Burger
waitress.
restaurant now, and then the burger names are like disgusting. They're like, yeah, can I get the sloppy second burger, and can I get the
with the white goose.
yeah, can I get the rape sandwich, please? And you're like, what? What kind of place is this?
You know
Speaking
how-
of,
you know
there's
all
a
the-
chat in here that's asking someone's visiting DC over
Oh, we're-
Memorial Day.
Oh yes.
Okay, we're pivoting
Patrick.
here. Meatloaf of Ohio.
Meat load.
We can
know,
pivot
You know
back
the
after.
oh,
meatloaf
you know
lord.
this person. You should
So yeah, this is one of my moderators. It's a long story. My longtime moderators here is going to be in the area. It's going to be in Harper's Ferry actually. So we're going to try to meet up. Finally meet up after 3 years of the Discord server. You guys, DC. What are the 3 must-see things or to-do activities?
National Archives you have to do. In my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yes.
I like to walk the monuments. My mom and my brother just visited me, and it's like a 45-minute walk, and you can see all of the monuments, and they're beautiful. Get some exercise. Although the weather's gonna be crappy this weekend, so maybe that's not a good.
Yeah.
Depends what day you're going to be there, I
Supposed
guess.
to rain.
Yeah.
Don't park in front of the museum.
I think
even if it
the,
says you can.
my sleeper pick would be you got to pay. So it's not a Smithsonian museum, but even if you're not a Christian, the Museum of the Bible.
That's
That's a
what I
good
was going
one.
to say.
Pretty fascinating,
Good one.
mainly because I think it's the 3rd floor. They have all of these old. They have a massive collection, of just all these different transcripts, and they have different Bible prints, which is pretty cool. They have like a few original Gutenberg press books.
The
and
Library of Congress
Bibles.
has a Gutenberg as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a Gutenberg Library of Congress. So beyond that, if you like food, you should go to my personal plug is Soul Spice. It's like Korean Chipotle.
It's really good.
And my Foyd is celiac, and it's all gluten free no matter what.
What do you
so
call your Foyd? Just
yeah,
cracks me up.
Foydette. She's younger.
Yeah,
than me.
I would say it's kind of obvious, but go to Arlington during changing of the guard, even if it's raining, because it's just incredible to watch that dedication
Rain
with
adds
all
to it,
weather.
I feel like.
Yeah, it does. It kind of adds to that. So it's really cool to see changing of the guard, especially if it's raining. And that's like my personal favorite. There's some really cool, you can see JFK's grave there. There's a couple other things there. My father-in-law is actually etched into a monument that's right on the drive coming up. And it's the Seabees monument. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, there's a Seabees monument, and my father-in-law is actually on there with
Shout out.
oh man, I'm totally gonna forget the name, but he's like has like a jackhammer, and that's him. That's my father-in-law.
Wow.
It's really cool lore. I know.
Yeah, the lore drop. We're dropping insane lore today.
Dropping lore.
Oh,
We have
Mount Vernon is fun too.
Yeah, Mount
I love Mount
Vernon.
Vernon.
The Revolutionary
George
War
Washington. There you go.
reenactment, and it
Okay,
was,
love that for
Who
you.
won?
Our side.
Let's go.
Oh, your side. Okay.
Well,
never
okay,
mind.
they had they had I'm from here, okay? I'm American, I promise. They had like
Paperwork
cavalry
American.
too. They had like they pulled out all the stops. Apparently these people like camp there all weekend. It's like alt-right Ren Fair. I love it. I love it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
They had like
So
autistic
good.
kids like in the lineup with like a white cast of sunscreen in their
go.
colonial uniforms. I'm like, this place rules.
Boutique, unite the right.
I love this. Yeah, it's great.
Let's get into this question here. Does the panel think we have or are entering a period where attending gentlemen's clubs are now a lower tier of degeneracy due to it requiring face-to-face interactions? Maybe the
Lower tier of general.
I don't know if it's
because
lower tier. I
because
feel
he's
like-
saying they're siphoning off the just the total degenerates and
lower
the
tier.
online stuff.
No,
so
I think
actually
only
They're going to close
taking a
Hooters.
shower and heading
Make
there.
Hooters family
Yeah,
friendly. People
I
are going to have to
imagine
go
the
there.
kind of people who go now are probably worse.
Yeah.
That because like
Yeah.
The act itself, though, is probably at least it's like you show up, you like get dressed and
you put a
go
little effort in.
somewhere.
You know?
I guess if you go
Yeah.
No,
unironically, then yeah.
see the thing is because like now people just like see escorts like because escorts are so much more common now because you have social media which finds like their OnlyFans page and then all these girls do escorts now. So like I don't even think strip clubs are like in
They're door dashing their women.
Yeah, no,
Literally.
seriously,
No, actually,
everything is just made to order.
Yeah.
No one wants to leave the house. No one wants to go out and do things, which of course then that so like I mean it's totally pivoting from that question, but I now feel like the people out in the world like are the people who truly want to be there and do
Yeah.
things. So whenever I go do something, I feel like now we're actually selecting for people who like really want to.
Especially because it costs like $40 to go outside anymore, so you got to like
Right.
expensive.
Right.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's so gay.
Well, maybe outside is becoming like Costco. You have to pay to go outside.
Yeah, literally.
So it's super. If
Yeah.
you can make it that, but then again, you can't have a two-tiered thing, right? Homeless people they need to be like locked into asylums.
Yeah, real.
And so you have to pay money to go outside, and then outside would be super duper nice.
Yeah, like outside premium, and it's like the non-homeless part.
Outside plus.
Yeah, outside plus. I'd pay that in a heartbeat, dude. Are you kidding me? My name is Jed asks, with the 90-day mark of the Iran operation coming after Memorial Day weekend, do you see an end coming soon, or do you think this runs through the summer and into the midterms?
It'll end
My
by the
personal
midterms.
take is it'll probably end around August or September. But look, Iran formalized their toll system. They want to put a toll in the Strait of Hormuz, and they formalized it, which indicates that, look, they're trying to accumulate as much leverage as possible going into the current negotiations taking place. And on top of that, I think the miscalculation from the Trump administration was that Iran is not like any other country necessarily. Actually, the most ardent Zionists were correct. They are theocratic ideologues. And the problem is when you kill their leadership, they'll just replace them with people that literally believe the same thing. So victory for Iran is just survival. They saw what happened to Gaddafi. They saw how successful Kim Jong-un was at repelling any sort of meddling in their affairs. So they understand that a nuclear weapon is what they need for deterrence. So there's no brinksmanship that can occur here. It's not going to get solved at the negotiating table, in my opinion. So I think the United States will probably crank the heat up. I don't know. You're reporting in politics.
Yeah,
for a
I
living.
mean, I think that it would be smart to get something, resolve it in some capacity before the midterms. I also think it would have been smart to wait after the midterms. If they were going to do anything at all, I think it probably would have been better to wait to make gas prices like $6 a gallon until after they, the round of elections in November. From what I understand, the argument behind the scenes was that like, well, the time is now. By the time the midterms pass, they're going to have, you know, too many defensive capabilities and we won't be as effective. I'm obviously not super privy as to whether or not that's accurate. But I think that they will wrap it up in some way, you know, kind of mop it up as best as they can. The question, I guess, is whether or not Americans will still be feeling the pain afterwards. I think probably. And I think that will still reflect poorly on Republicans.
The gas prices have to come down.
Gas prices, the food prices. It's just not a good look.
I'm sorry. Am I covering my food in crazy sauce or something? This is the new forever war. It's a new forever war.
That's the fear.
That's the
No,
fear,
I
yeah.
think that's the reality. That's the reality. How is it not? Best case scenario, he stops and we're a little bit worse off than we already are. And he can't stop because this is, it's propagated by Israel. Israel is demanding this. He has to ramp it up, and you can't ramp up in a war with Iran. This is a losing proposition. It's going to go on forever.
We definitely haven't patched things up with the Iranians after this.
It's not going to
gonna be
happen
like
maybe in our
after.
lifetime.
Well, that's the problem. That's why I said. I mean, it's like, look, the victory condition for Iran is just survival. So to your point, I mean, look, there's two ways this goes: is either Trump strikes a deal that like he can take home and say, well, we finished off their nuclear capabilities this time, or to your point, you have to finish them off. Well, in a country as large as Iran, as complex as Iran, that's a 3, 4, potentially decade-long process, depending on how entrenched they are. I'm sorry, this isn't going to get solved at the negotiating table. The Trump administration is going to just have to take, lick their wounds here and survive. The thing, though, is that the Americans have a lot of capacity for this kind of stuff, that if the Trump administration does, again, just kind of accept that it's a stalemate, we might be worse off. I think we would be worse off leaving this war at the moment. The American people have very short memories. If you rack up a few domestic wins, you go and set the tone in Cuba, this will still be a blot on his record. There's no doubt about that. In conversations in 10, 20 years, people will probably bring up, well, the Iran thing is like, yeah, I know. But I think that, again, if you just say, look, it is what it is, let's take the L here, it's fine. Versus, to your point, that's the only way I see this playing out. Again, if we stay in and we try to finish them off, that's going to take a lot longer than you think. We already killed all their leadership.
And we're still going.
Yeah, and they have tons of munitions left over. The Chinese said, yeah, we'll stop supporting them. There's no mechanism to actually force the Chinese.
And Russia.
Well, and also, like, Iran, I mean, they killed, like, however many thousands, tens of thousands of their civilians leading up. Yeah, 40,000 is what I've heard a lot, like, leading before the conflict. And so, like, the president threatening to take out their civilian infrastructure and kill more of their civilians, I'm not totally convinced that is like something that they're super worried about. They actually would like totally do it themselves. Like they were happy to kill plenty of people themselves. Like I don't think that's going to actually like damage or set Iran back in the way that like Americans think, because we look at the 13 servicemen that died so far in this conflict, and that's a heavy hit for us.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, to your point, not to like, I know everyone's like, oh, everything gets tied back to World War II, but this is appropriate in this situation. That's what we did in Germany, in Dresden, is we bombed the German people because we were under the impression that they would blame this on their government and say, just get us out of this, like sign whatever deal is necessary, let's get out of this. It had the opposite effect, is they rally, even though the German government was quite unpopular, specifically in Dresden, once we bombed them, they rallied around the flag. And I think the exact same thing would happen in Iran. Again, if we ratchet up the pressure and started targeting civilian infrastructure, I don't think the civilians would say, this is the Ayatollah's fault.
Yeah.
They would say, wow, we need to rally around the flag here. We may not like the Ayatollah, but these guys are coming in and bombing us.
Especially since we hit them first.
Isn't that kind of like what Trump was saying, was like, hey, the people of Iran, like, now's your chance. Like, we kind of like set the stage for you. And like, if they didn't take it, then, like the only way you get regime change is if you fully change everything. And like you're saying, that's going to take forever.
If it even happens.
Yeah.
So you either need like the people to revolt. You need some, I've always said that, regardless of our involvement, the only way that happens is if the people of Iran who could pose some sort of like counter something work directly with Israel and get like a bunch, because Mossad already has tons of people in Iran's thing, right? Like there was one whole department of Iran, like the IRGC, that was like trying to snuff out who was Mossad, and everyone in there was actually Mossad. So it's like, unless you find some way to get the people in with with working with in tandem with Israel locally, it's just nothing's going to happen.
Well, and this is why there's
can't invade Iran. You can't invade
No, it's
Iran.
true.
It doesn't
People
work.
to revolt, they have a martyr to rally around now,
of
thanks
course.
to us.
But
This is
also, if
ridiculous.
anything,
It's
they're
never
more
going to
golden.
happen.
But at the same time, he's hated by a very large percentage of the population.
I don't know about that. I dispute that
But,
completely.
but even if that was the case, I mean, this was the problem to your point. I mean, there was a reporting, I think it was in the Washington Post earlier this week, that was the plan when we went in, is we thought if we can create a power vacuum, we're watching on TV all of these protests, they'll just step up and change the regime and we won't have to be too involved.
Wow.
Yeah.
What
didn't
insight
happen.
They were like
from the
leaking
Western
oppo
powers.
to
Yeah,
the
if
New
we-
York
if we
Post.
They'll greet us
just,
as
then they
liberators.
might.
Yeah.
And-
They were like leaking oppo to the New York Post or whoever it was that like, oh, the Ayatollah is gay. And it's like, this is totally going to work. And like, yeah, it is a funny rumor to start about someone. But like, if anything, they're probably going to be, I assume that they're going to be more emboldened.
Of course.
Yeah,
Of course.
Yeah. Well, you know, this will be the last one. Maybe is interesting proposal on how we could mop this up from G. In the Discord here, it says, should we make it rain bacon grease through cloud seeding in Iran?
Well, I already know
It would
who
technically be chemical warfare. I believe that would be chemical warfare, but that's a compelling proposal. I mean, it's certainly better than looking at 10 years of occupation.
Or more bombs.
Interesting. I know who typed that without even knowing. You were like, if we put bacon grease, I was like,
Yeah, if we
know
make
exactly
it rain.
who that
They've
is.
actually attached a photo of what this could look like. And it's quite interesting.
I see it now.
Is it AI?
Gone
It's
fall.
AI,
Pull it
but
out.
Let's hope so.
yeah.
I will say, as someone who did spend time as a butcher, that pork fat is really hard to deal with, and it's just not going to go well.
Yeah, and cloud seeding with it, I don't know how that would work.
You were a
But
butcher?
I respect that.
Okay.
I respect that a
Can
lot.
we do
Well,
last?
was
This
your
one's
favorite
really easy. It's a
thing
yes
to
or no
butcher?
question. We'll
That's a
just
yes
do
or
this
no
last. Yeah.
Damn.
It's
Okay.
Easiest.
around the table, yay or nay on an infantry invasion of Cuba.
infantry, nay.
Nay.
Hey.
It's pretty easy. We don't need to do
Unanimous
that.
nay.
We need
There
like
you go.
30 guys. And,
I was gonna say that was gonna be quick. We'll just
yeah,
get one more in
Camaro,
there.
a few white monsters. It should be fine.
Yeah.
But, with that, we got to wind this show down, folks. Thank you very much for watching this Friday installment. It was loose. It was fun. We had a great time. So I appreciate all of our guests and panelists for joining us today. With that, Josh, where can people find you?
At Josh Rayner Gold on all the socials.
Yeah, thanks for coming out, dude. It was awesome.
This has been fun.
Rebecca.
You can read my byline on the Daily Caller, or you can follow me on X at Rebeka Zeljko, spelled REBEKAZELJKO.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming out as well.
Thank you for having me.
Olivia.
Yeah, guys, you should go to timcast.com/Discord, join our members only server. We have a lot of fun in there, and on Fridays, we're in here. That's where we take our chats. So you can ask us questions directly. I do my best to talk to everybody in the server. So hang out there. But if you want to follow me personally, that's Olivia Dasovic on Instagram and on X.
And I messed up the order on the outro, so
That's all right.
Chris's name popped up into yours. That is Olivia. This is Chris. Chris, where can people find you?
ChrisCarr17 on X. Check out my Substack where I write about film and interesting people. That's chriscarr.substack.com. That's Carr with a K, K-A-R-R. Thanks.
That's why you asked me about movies.
Yeah. Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
I'm not going to take responsibility for the outro being messed up because that was on me. Totally my fault. I'm Carter Banks. You can follow me at Carter Banks everywhere, at Carter Banks Official everywhere else. Follow our record label at Trash House Records on YouTube. And yeah, it's been a pretty chill conversation. Thank you all for coming.
I think it's all of our faults. We ride together, we die together, in the words of the great
Oh, yeah.
Vin
Heck
Diesel.
yeah.
With that, you can follow me on X and Instagram at Real Tate Brown. Come give me a follow. And we'll be back on Tuesday with all sorts of Timcast IRL action for all you guys. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. Put a few burgers on the grill, your $20 burgers. And thank you very much to all of our fallen service members. Obviously, I have a few in my family, so we'll be thinking about them throughout the weekend. And I imagine a lot of you can relate as well. So thank you to everyone who served. And we'll take the weekend, obviously, to pay special remembrance for our fallen soldiers. So thank you very much for watching. We'll see you guys next time.